Chapter 555. The weather's not bad. This angry roar shook all their eardrums. Long Chen and Emo Nien put down their wine jugs. Looking out the window, they saw dozens of experts on the road outside, blocking the entrance to the restaurant. The crowded street was silent as people fled into the distance, afraid of being implicated. The bystanders all saw that these experts' expressions were extremely gloomy. The person roaring was the giant eagle stronghold's master, a peak Xian expert, Luo Yingxiong. What's going on? Was Luo Zhongxing killed? No way! Who would kill the future inheritor of the giant eagle stronghold? Longchen? Why does that name sound familiar? What's going on? Countless people were hiding in the distance, stealthily watching the aggressive Luo Yingxiong. They were filled with shock. Many people had seen Emo Gate's junior master enter this restaurant with a group of other people. Now that Luo Yingxiong was blocking the restaurant, it seemed today's matter would be extremely big. Right now, rumors were drifting about Qingzhou City that Emo Gate had offended some major figure and was declining. The three great powers of Qing Prefecture were being supported by someone and were beginning to devour Emo Gate's territory. Right now, Emo Gate and those three powers were filled with hostility towards each other. Now that Luo Yingxiong had come here with killing intent, it seemed great waves were about to arise within Qing Prefecture. Who is that person? It seems he's calling me? Long Chen was already slightly drunk now. He's the giant eagle stronghold's master, Luo Zhongxing's father, Luo Yingxiong, explained Mu Shui worriedly. It was obvious Luo Yingxiong had come to get revenge for his son. Luo Yingxiong? This name really is shameless. No wonder he gave birth to such a shameless son. So it was hereditary. Long Chen curled his lip, feeling this name to be extremely untrue. Luo Yingxiong, don't make such a racket in front of my restaurant. You'll affect my business, shouted Emo Nien. The Muxue mercenary unit's members' expressions became odd. Did this restaurant have any business to affect? However, they did have to admire their courage. That was a peak Xian expert, the level of Qing Prefecture's top sect leaders. Yet, they managed to treat him like a disobedient dog. Emo Nien, this matter has nothing to do with you. It'd be best for you to not interfere, as your Emo Gate is no longer the old Emo Gate. Be careful of the day your Emo Gate collapses, Luo Yingxiong shouted back at Emo Nien. Today, I came to find Long Chen to get revenge for my son. This matter has nothing to do with your Emo Gate, so if you dare interfere, don't blame me for not being polite. Emo Nien was furious. How was this matter unrelated to Emo Gate? They were the ones that had targeted Emo Gate, not wanting him to be able to obtain the hidden ground spider's core. He was about to say something when Long Chen stopped him. How come I feel like you like to fight with words all the time? If everything could be solved by talking reasonably, what would be the point of cultivating? Emo Nien agreed with him. Even if he said that this was all because the giant eagle stronghold was targeting Emo Gate, there was no proof. What could he do? Sigh, this child. Emo Nien's guts are still too small. He needs more tempering. In a private room within the restaurant across the street, a tall elder was sitting in his chair, sighing with disappointment. This elder's hair and beard were white as snow, and he had many deep wrinkles. He appeared so old that it was a bit frightening. He was sitting with his back as straight as a mountain, and his gaze was incredibly sharp. He seemed like a blade that had been sheathed for countless years, his aura extremely intimidating. Father, perhaps I was too soft-hearted. I didn't give Emo Nien enough instruction, sighed a middle-aged man beside him. That person was precisely Emo Nien's father, Emo Yunshan. As for the elderly man, he was Qing Prefecture's top expert, the previous master of Emo Gate, Emo Yi shook his head. It's not that you didn't instruct your child enough, but perhaps our method was flawed. Emo Nien has experienced many dangers, more dangers than anyone else. We didn't give him much assistance either. He reached his level by relying on his own strength. Now that there are people intentionally targeting Emo Gate, we intentionally haven't made any moves, all to see what he would do in the face of these unforeseen events. Although this child Emo Nien is smart, he isn't daring enough. All he knows how to do is strike back when struck. He doesn't know how to take the initiative to attack. How could I possibly leave Mo Gate to him like this? With his indecisive temperament, he'll cause Mo Gate to decline. If that happens, I'll have no way to face the ancestors when I die. Mo Yunshan was silent to that. It was truly difficult to change a person's temperament like Mo Nyen. Our Mo family's teachings preach that Mo Gate can be destroyed, but it can't be allowed to decline. Even when the final person is facing death, he cannot bend his spine. Each time I curse him, saying a child who doesn't know how to stir up any trouble can't have any big accomplishments in the future, he doesn't dare do anything. Even after such obvious instructions, the only big thing he's ever done is piss in my wine pot, sighed Mo, shaking his head. Mo Yunshan looked at the distant Long Chen and Mo Nyen. He also couldn't help but sigh. Mo Nyen's style of handling things truly was slightly different from the Mo family style. He was lacking a kind of domineeringness. If a leader didn't have any daring, always acting careful and overcautious, then no matter how strong a sect was, it would still begin to decline. Being wrong wasn't something to be afraid of. Only once you were wrong would you know what was right. Only then would you know what growth was. Paying a price for making a mistake was fine. The more frightening thing to be afraid of was not even having the courage to make a mistake. Then you would truly be done for. That was also what Mo Nyen's grandfather was most worried about. This Long Chen is pretty good. He possesses a kind of wild nature, one that desires to struggle free of all restrictions. Anything that tries to block him has to be eliminated without hesitation. This kind of character is very good and filled with a desire to advance courageously no matter what. If he has the intelligence to match his strength, he'll grow up to a level that even we have to look up to. Looking at Long Chen, a flash of praise appeared in Mo Yi's eyes. Then what should we do now? It's very obvious Luo Yingxiong is trying to show off his strength to Mo Gate. If we still don't counterattack, we really will lose all our face. Now, more and more powers are starting to maintain a distance from us. In fact, some of them even dare challenge us now. The pill tower has cut us off from medicinal pills, and they've also begun encroaching upon our businesses. We have to strike back, said Mo Yunshan. Ah, Yunshan, do you know why I still refuse to hand over the gate master position to you? Mo looked at Mo Yunshan profoundly. I don't. Perhaps I'm not strong enough? Said Mo Yunshan. You're wrong. In your generation, your strength is the greatest in the family. In terms of qualifications, you are only second to me. That's enough to convince everyone. There are two reasons I can't hand Mo Gate to you. You are strong, and you've already touched the C expansion barrier in just 47 years. You might reach half-step C expansion at any moment. That's enough to count you as a peak genius. The main reason is because you still are not domineering enough. Domineeringness isn't something you display on the outside, but something you keep in your heart. It refers to how you handle things. The other reason is that you aren't smart enough. Do you know why I let Mo Gate just endure all this silently? Asked Mo. To give pressure to Mo Nyen so he can rise? Asked Mo Yunshan. That's why I said you aren't smart enough. People who are unable to see an opportunity within danger are unsuitable to be a leader. Our current situation is an opportunity for Mo Gate. After countless years, most people have already forgotten that the Mo family was once an ancient family. After being away from the ancient family alliance for so long, people assume we've already completely declined and have placed their intentions on our Mo Gate. This time I'm intentionally acting weak so that those idiots start to get confident. When the opportunity comes, we'll completely eradicate all of those people targeting us, using the most direct method to tell those idiots that it hasn't reached the point where they can target us. Even in the ancient era, when there were tens of thousands of noble families, our Mo Gate was still always in the top 100. We weren't an existence others could place their intentions on. The reason the pill tower is giving a blow to us isn't because of the conflict in the Julie secret realm. That is just their pretense. The pill tower has definitely received some kind of benefit from someone for them to act this way, said Mo. You're saying there's an ancient family targeting us? Tell me and I'll kill them. Mo Yunshan clenched his teeth. So this had actually been part of a huge scheme. This is another reason I can't hand Mo Gate to you. It's because you can't control your temper, so it's difficult for you to accomplish anything big. Moe looked at Mo Yunshan with a bit of disappointment. You're right. Child admits his failings. Mo Yunshan's heart trembled. There are still many things for you to learn. Just take it one step at a time. Let's just watch and see how these two children handle this scene, said Moe. Right now, Mo Nian was still choking on what Long Chen had just said. But the reality was just like that. If talking reason could solve everything, everyone would just sit down and talk. How could there still be so many conflicts? How could there be a righteous and corrupt path? Then what should we do? Asked Mo Nian. Really? You, the Grand Junior Master of Mo Gate, have people come to your front door hurling abuse, and you're asking me what to do. Just who is the boss of Qing Prefecture? It's your Mo Gate. Your position already determines what you have to do. If your opponent wants to force you, then just kill them with a single slap. Have you ever seen an elephant trample an ant and then apologize to it, saying it wasn't on purpose? Have you ever seen a dragon pierce through the clouds and then ask some small birds if it could borrow their space? Just how much have you drunk for you to become this stupid? When people want to target you, you're just going to endure it because you have no evidence. Raged Long Chen. Even if we were to fight, don't we need a reason first? Asked Mo Nian. Fine, you want a reason? Let me give you one. Long Chen pointed at the sky. Today, the weather's not bad. Chapter 556. Today, the weather is excellent, perfect for killing people, said Long Chen. Fuck, that's a bit too implausible, isn't it? Mo Nian was dumbfounded. Because the weather was good, he would kill people? Do you care if it's implausible? Ask those idiots down there. Do the people secretly targeting your Mo family need to give a reason? Long Chen pointed at Luo Yingxiong. This time, Long Chen didn't conceal his voice at all. Practically the entire street heard it clearly. Those countless spectators were dumbfounded. Haha, this Long Chen really is interesting. Moe couldn't help laughing upon seeing Long Chen and Mo Nian flushed with excitement. This little fellow Long Chen really doesn't know the meaning of fear. Back then, he was only at the Tendon transformation realm and still dared to charge into the first monastery on his own, treating over 100 Xiantian experts as nothing more than air, praised Mo Yunshan. That memory was still deeply imprinted in his mind. That kind of heroism was truly worthy of admiration. That was something unrelated to cultivation base. Instead, it was the courage to be unafraid of death. Even if he had to die, he would pull all those people with him. That kind of ruthlessness was truly startling. Long Chen, you really must want to die. You killed my beloved son, so today, if I don't turn your bones to ashes, I won't be surnamed Luo, shouted Luo Yingxiong. Long Chen looked at him disdainfully. What does your surname have to do with me? I'm not your dad. Luo Yingxiong almost exploded in fury. He roared, Long Chen, if you have any courage, you'll come down and fight. Long Chen couldn't help being startled. He asked Mo Nian, why do I have to go down? Can't he come up? This is one of my Mo Gate's businesses. If he dared intrude, that would be a public declaration of war against Mo Gate. So he doesn't dare, sneered Mo Nian. All right, then just let him stand there stupidly. We can keep drinking. Long Chen was somewhat speechless. What kind of broken rules were these? He really was unable to make sense of it. He decided to just directly ignore Luo Yingxiong. Didn't he like to play games with these stupid rules? Then he could keep playing. Long Chen and Mo Nian once more began drinking. Seeing them ignore him, Luo Yingxiong turned green with rage. He had an urge to charge straight into the restaurant and kill Long Chen, but he had too many misgivings. Now was still not the time for an all-out war against Mo Gate. You, go out there and curse that brat Long Chen to get out here. Luo Yingxiong suddenly pointed to a Xiantian expert beside him. A total of 37 people had come with Luo Yingxiong. They were all Xiantian experts. Long Chen, you coward, if you have any guts at all, you'll get out here. As I see it, you're just a tortoise. That person was helpless and could only thicken his face to curse. For a Xiantian expert to curse people like a shrew was humiliating, but he didn't dare ignore Luo Yingxiong's orders. Those hidden experts all shook their heads at his actions. This was too embarrassing to watch. Long Chen, you son of a bitch, you dash. As that person continued to curse, a figure suddenly appeared in front of him. Ha, you finally come dash. His delighted cry was interrupted. A blood-colored saber sliced off his head. Mo Nian and the others were all startled. Long Chen had just been drinking with them when he had suddenly disappeared. When they hastily looked down, they just managed to catch Long Chen's saber send that person's head flying. Long Chen, hand back my son's life. Luo Yingxiong was delighted, not giving a damn about the death of that Xiantian expert. He immediately sent a fist crashing at him. That shocked everyone. Luo Yingxiong was wearing a steel glove that was covered with runes. The terrifying aura coming from it marked it as a powerful Xiantian weapon. This fist caused the void to tremble. Luo Yingxiong was clearly planning on killing Long Chen in one strike. Fuck off. Long Chen's saber slashed out. An immense explosion rang out when it struck Luo Yingxiong's gloved fist. The bricks inlaid on this large road all crumbled, and Luo Yingxiong was actually sent flying. How powerful! Even the hidden spectators were stunned. They all saw that Long Chen had attacked relying entirely on his physical strength. Just the power of his physical body was enough to send a peak Xiantian expert flying. That kind of physical body was too terrifying. Even Moe had never seen such a terrifying physical body before. Kill him! The experts from the giant eagle stronghold were startled, but they all took out their weapons and charged at him. Boom! A huge arrow landed in front of them, causing an immense explosion that knocked them away. They looked up in shock. Mo Nian was holding his bow, looking icily at them. His aura was gradually rising, giving them a powerful pressure. Even these Xiantian experts were suppressed by his aura. Nianer has finally taken action, sighed Mo Yunshan. If he still didn't do anything, I'd have to expel him from Mo Gate. How did I end up having such a good-for-nothing grandson? Mo Yi's expression was slightly ugly. He had greatly hoped for Mo Nian to be the one to take the initiative, not Long Chen. If it was Mo Nian who took the initiative, then it meant he had the heart to protect his friends. It would have been in the spirit of loyalty. But for him to only take action now, the significance was completely different. So Mo Yi was actually extremely angry. If you were to just tolerate anything that happened to you, why would you even bother cultivating? What would be the point of having a higher cultivation base? Take the big picture into consideration? That was just nonsense. If you couldn't even handle yourself, how could you handle the big picture? Mo Yi's expression was as black as the bottom of a pot. Mo Yunshan didn't dare say a single word upon seeing his father's expression. Once Mo Nian returned home, he would probably be given another beating. What do you think you're doing, Mo Nian? Long Chen roared furiously at Mo Nian. Are you just playing around? Even at this time, you'll still follow the rules of their stupid game? Do you know how many of your allies will die while you waste your time following their rules? Do you know how many sinister blades are pointed at your Mo Gate? Do you know that if I hadn't been there, every single member of the Mushue mercenary unit would have been killed? Do you know just how many people will lose their lives while you hesitate? If you have this kind of character, then don't bother calling yourself my brother. I don't have cowards like you as my brothers. Suddenly, Luo Yingxiong leaped forward again, no longer holding anything back, sending a fist smashing towards Long Chen. The mountain-breaking fist. An ear-piercing sound rang out. This fist's power seemed to be about to shatter the void. You should die instead. Long Chen roared, and he swung his saber at Luo Yingxiong with fury. He was extremely dissatisfied with Mo Nian. Just now, he could have easily killed a few of these Xiantian experts. But he hadn't, instead just knocking them back. What was he trying to do? Warn them? When enemies bullied their way to your home, would they care about your warning? Was he playing around? There were times to be a badass. But if your timing was off, then you would be a dumbass instead. Now was clearly not the right time, so Long Chen was furious with Emo Nien, but he also couldn't release it on him. With nowhere else to release it, Luo Yingxiong had become the target for his anger. Boom! The ground erupted, and Luo Yingxiong was like a shooting star as he flew back. Explosions echoed continuously as Luo Yingxiong carved a large path into the road. Boundless broken bits of rock flew out, turning the surrounding buildings into a mess. Piercing cloud arrow. Suddenly, a cold shout rang out following Long Chen's saber, and a large arrow flew out. This arrow enveloped all those Xiantian experts from the giant eagle stronghold. Miserable screams rang out. Those people had all been focused on Long Chen's saber. Several of them directly exploded upon being struck by the arrow. As for the others, they were all sent flying, wildly vomiting blood. Those distant spectators were all startled. Emo Nien was finally truly attacking. This was a real declaration of war. This arrow is at least slightly acceptable. Emo snorted, but he couldn't conceal his pride. The power of the arrow wasn't what he cared about. Instead, it was the fact that Emo Nien had finally thrown off the shackles in his heart and taken his first step. Emo Nien appeared beside Long Chen. Thank you, Long Chen. I know what to do now. Haha. Long Chen laughed and hit Emo Nien in the chest. This is how my brother should be. Pay back debts of gratitude and enmity no matter who tries to stop you. What's the point of having so many misgivings? If you weren't the junior master of Emo Gate, would you choose not to cultivate? Stop caring so much about your status and definitely stop being afraid of bringing trouble to your sect. If a sect is afraid of any trouble, then it means their destiny has long since run out. Long Chen's words made Mo and Mo Yunshan nod inside. Long Chen's character was something they admired, but his next words made them speechless. Even if the heavens collapse, won't you have your uncle to help you? If your uncle isn't strong enough, won't you have your father? If your father and uncle aren't enough, won't you still have your family's patriarch? Furthermore, before your uncle left, didn't he secretly tell us that we could do whatever we want without any misgivings? Said Long Chen. Did my uncle ever say something like that? Asked Emo Nien. Didn't your uncle say that with the two of us together, we can dominate the Qing prefecture? We haven't dominated anything yet, but our enemies have already come to find us. Then us two brothers should really see whether or not we can dominate the Qing prefecture, said Long Chen. Emo Nien's eyes brightened as he recalled that matter. Good, then today we'll throw caution to the wind and kill these bastards. Long Chen, Emo Nien, you can both die. Suddenly, a heaven-shaking roar rang out and a terrifying pressure descended. An immense fist image smashed towards the two of them. Emo Nien's expression changed. There's an interaction here I didn't include because it doesn't translate. Long Chen is calling Emo Nien's uncle, and Emo Nien says to call his uncle, which is a nicer way to say uncle and can't be used as an insult. So the interaction went like this. Did my uncle ever say something like that? Your uncle dash. Call him uncle. Didn't your uncle say? Chapter 557, 557. He has activated his Xiantian weapon. That fist image was 300 meters wide, shocking everyone. Had Luo Yingxiong gone crazy? He wanted to kill Emo Nien. Emo Nien was the successor of Emo Gate. If he was killed, then Qingzhou City would be turned into a complete mess. When Luo Yingxiong had begun secretly accumulating his energy, Mo Yunshan had already noticed and had been preparing to block him. You don't need to do anything, said Mo. But that's an attack from a Xiantian weapon. Nianer can't block it. Mo Yunshan was stunned. Mo Gate's core technique focused on offense, not defense. Mo Nien didn't possess such great defensive abilities. So what if he can't block it? It'll only cause some injuries. When did my Mo family's men become so fragile? Asked Mo. I know you love your son, but a tree needs to be able to survive storms on its own, and an eagle needs to rely on its own power to spread its wings and fly. Can you protect him for a lifetime? When Mo Yunshan didn't reply, Mo Yi continued, just watch. I won't let anything happen to Nyener or Long Chen. But now is still not the time for us to appear. As they finished speaking, Luo Yingxiong finished storing up energy, and his immense fist image tightly locked Long Chen and Mo Nyen down. Mo Nyen's expression changed. An attack from a Xiantian weapon was something even he couldn't block. But now that he was locked down, he could only face it head-on. Don't move. Let me try something. Long Chen pushed Mo Nyen behind him. Divine Ring. A 300-meter divine ring appeared behind Long Chen. It was like a red and orange rainbow behind him, and in that instant, a berserk aura soared into the sky. At the same time, a will to break free from the restrictions of the world and look down on all spread. A terrifying pressure grew. Long Chen slowly raised his blood-colored saber. He was just about to use Split the Heavens when a cry came from the saber, and its blood-red runes lit up. A sharp aura soared from it as if it had received some kind of energy that was reviving it. Long Chen was delighted, as he sensed a spiritual message come from Blooddrinker's spirit. In that instant, a resonance formed between their souls. So that's what it was. Before, I wasn't strong enough to activate your power. Then today, let's see what your true power is. You can take as much of my spiritual qi as you want. Long Chen didn't use any techniques. He simply randomly slashed his saber at the oncoming fist image. Boom! Blooddrinker's blood-red runes lit up, and in front of everyone's horrified expressions, that fist image, which was formed from countless runes, was cut in two. Not only that, but that blood-red saber qi also continued forward, mercilessly landing on Luo Yingxiong. That's? Mo Yi stood up in shock, looking at Long Chen's saber. Luo Yingxiong's expression completely changed. He had never imagined Long Chen's saber would possess such terrifying power. Seeing this immense saber image slashing down on him, he knew that if it hit him, even 100 lives wouldn't be enough. He suddenly formed a hand seal, and a bronze statue appeared in front of him. The statue was of a dark blue eagle spreading its wings. The statue was only the size of a fist at first, but it instantly grew to a size of 300 meters. The saber qi crashed heavily onto the huge statue. All of Qingzhou City rocked from the impact. However, that eagle statue was still able to block that seemingly unblockable attack. But Luo Yingxiong continuously vomited blood, and his forehead split open, appearing incredibly frightening. The statue quickly shrank back down and was taken back by Luo Yingxiong. Cloud-piercing arrow. In that instant when Luo Yingxiong took back his statue and was vomiting blood, a huge arrow arrived in front of him. That was Mo Nyen's attack. Mo Nyen had been cursed awake by Long Chen, and he no longer had any misgivings. Since he had taken action, he definitely wouldn't hold back, not giving up any chance to kill his opponent. What Mo Nyen didn't know was that this action of his had saved him from a beating. He had won his grandfather's praise. Luo Yingxiong had already activated his Xiantian weapon, which had used up over half his Xiantian power. Later, he had then summoned out his family's treasure. Although it had managed to block Long Chen's attack, that had basically used up all his remaining energy. The thing that horrified him the most was that blocking Long Chen's attack with the statue had greatly shaken his soul, and he had almost been killed from the impact. His soul had felt like it was about to be torn apart. Now that Mo Nyen's attack arrived, he found himself powerless to dodge. He could only watch with terror as that arrow approached him. Bang! A large hand smashed apart the arrow, and a white-robed elder appeared in front of Luo Yingxiong. He was the one who had saved his life. It's the Pure River Valley's master, Sun Changshou. The hidden spectators all let out startled cries upon recognizing this person. The Pure River Valley, the Sky Cry Mansion, and the Giant Eagle Stronghold were known as Qing Prefecture's three great powers. They were the strongest sects other than Mo Gate. Now that the Pure River Valley's master had saved Luo Yingxiong, it made many people guess that this was premeditated. At such a young age, you're already so vicious. Let me take the place of your family to teach you a lesson. The Pure River Valley's master snorted, and his palm slammed forward. Countless runes revolved around this palm, and a fierce astral wind attacked Long Chen and Emon Yen. Long Chen and Emon Yen's heart sank. They could both see that this old fellow was most likely a half-step sea expansion expert for him to be able to keep his runes within the air. Suddenly, a golden arrow shot out like a bolt of lightning, arriving right in front of Sun Changsho in an instant. Sun Changsho's expression changed, and he had no choice but to give up his attack, dodging to the side. The arrow shot right past his body, piercing into the ground and disappearing. It merely left behind a small hole in the ground. What shocked everyone was that whether it was when the arrow was first shot or when it pierced into the ground, there was no sound at all. It was so bizarre that it made their hair stand on end. It seems that you, Sun Changsho, are not qualified to teach my child a lesson, right? Mo Yunshan appeared beside Long Chen and Emon Yen. After saying one icy sentence, he didn't even look at the stunned Sun Changsho. He patted Long Chen and Emon Yen on the shoulders. Good brats, you've grown up. Greetings, Uncle Mo. Long Chen hastily bowed. It's all right, our Mo gate doesn't have so many repulsive rules, so there's no need to be so polite. Once this matter here ends, your Uncle Mo will hold a welcoming dinner for you. Mo Yunshan smiled. Long Chen and Emon Yen's display today had greatly satisfied Mo Yunshan rarely saw his father so excited. Mo Yunshan, you've actually touched the barrier? Sun Changsho was stunned. Do you think I'm trash like you and would only touch that barrier after 800 years? Do you think I'd be as stupid as you and proudly announce it to everyone? Sneered Mo Yunshan. You even want to teach my child a lesson? With your kind of conduct, do you really think you're capable? Do you believe me when I say I can make it impossible for you to leave here alive? Mo Yunshan, don't you think you're a bit too wild to say such big words when you've only just touched the barrier? Suddenly, a sinister voice rang out and a withered old man carrying a cane walked over. It's the Sky Cry Mansion's master, Wang Yishan. It seems he has also long since arrived and is only revealing himself now. Are they planning to start a war with Mo Gate? Those distant spectators were all astonished. Ever since the Jiuli secret realm closed, Qing Prefecture had begun to change. The three great powers, which had previously constantly been suppressed by Mo Gate, had begun to target Mo Gate in secret. Not only had they begun secretly ruining their businesses, but they had also gradually begun to compete with them openly for their resources. Furthermore, the previously incomparably domineering Mo Gate had just endured it the whole time, puzzling everyone. At this time, there were rumors that Mo Gate might appear powerful, but they were actually very weak and had already declined, which was why they were unable to compete with the three great powers. There were also some rumors that the pill tower had cut the Mo family off from medicinal pills, which made those people feel like Mo Gate was doomed. Once you were enemies with the pill tower, the only path left for you was death. But now, their struggle had exploded in scale because of a single outsider. Their behind-the-scenes struggle was about to turn into an all-out war. The leaders of the three great powers had all appeared, shocking everyone. I can be wild because I'm young. But you are halfway to your grave already. Even if you wanted to be wild, you wouldn't have the energy. Mo Yunshan wasn't the slightest bit surprised by Wang Yishan's arrival. Wang Yishan was even older than Sun Changsho. It seemed he had lived over 1,500 years and could truly be considered an old monster. However, he had only touched the barrier after 1,000 years, reaching half-step sea expansion. It was essentially an impossibility for him to reach the sea expansion realm. Currently, his lifespan had already mostly run out. He only had a few years left in him. All his energy was focused on extending his life, which was why he seemed like a living skeleton. Uncle Mo, if you didn't say he was halfway to his grave, I would have thought he was a zombie that had crawled out of his tomb. My eyes really have been opened to a greater world. Long Chen curiously looked at Wang Yishan as if he were a monster. Brat, you must want to die. Don't land in my hands, or I'll definitely make you live a life worse than death. Wang Yishan glared hatefully at Long Chen. You want to absorb my essence blood? Hee, I see, so that must be how you extend your lifespan. Otherwise, considering your basically exhausted spiritual fluctuations, you should have long since become unable to move. There's no need for you to refuse to admit it, because other than this method, there's no way you would still be standing there, said Long Chen. Long Chen's words caused huge waves amongst the spectators, and many of their expressions changed. Wang Yishan, you bastard, hand back my son's life. A furious shout rang out. Chapter 558. Long Chen's words caused chaos amongst those hidden spectators, because during the past few years, young geniuses from Qing Prefecture had continuously disappeared mysteriously. Those geniuses all had cultivation bases that had reached at least the meridian opening realm, and they were essentially their sect's favorites that they had raised with all their might. However, somehow, they had vanished one by one. Some of them disappeared inside the city, some of them disappeared outside the city. There were even some that were cultivating inside their own sects when they suddenly vanished without a trace. These strange incidents filled Qing Prefecture's junior experts with panic because it was just too bizarre. Now that Long Chen had said that, many people realized that this was extremely likely. Wang Yishan was a withered old skeleton now. Perhaps he really had some secret technique that allowed him to absorb essence blood to extend his lifespan. Those geniuses that had disappeared had been in their early 20s, the perfect moment when their blood qi was at its peak state. Now, many people found it to be far more than a coincidence. Wang Yishan, you goddamn wretch, hand back my son's life. Bastard, was my secluded disciple also killed by you? Wang Yishan, you old half-breed, my nephew was also definitely killed by you. Those hidden spectators jumped out to rage at Wang Yishan. During the past 100 years, too many of Qing Prefecture's junior geniuses had disappeared. Perhaps the only one who could sneak into other people's sects and snatch their disciples without anyone finding any clues was an expert who had at least reached the half-step C expansion realm. There were only a few half-step C expansion experts in all of Qingzhou City, so few that you could count them with your fingers. Of those people, only Wang Yishan was approaching his grave. Most importantly, according to his age, he should have died decades ago. However, he was still alive. Now that Long Chen said this, the evident facts needed no hard evidence. How can you all just believe his lies? He's intentionally trying to slander me, cried Wang Yishan in panic. Please, who do you think I, Long Chen, am? A trash person like you isn't worth me slandering. Anyone with eyes can see your spiritual fluctuations are already practically dead. However, your blood qi fluctuations are still normal. But if you really were innocent, your blood qi and spiritual fluctuations should be similar to each other. With such an obvious gap in your alibi, why would I even need to slander you? Said Long Chen disdainfully. Now that he said this, everyone came to a sudden comprehension. The only thing they sensed from Wang Yishan was his aura, but they hadn't sensed his spiritual fluctuations. Now, they didn't have any more misgivings and sent their spiritual strength surging towards Wang Yishan. Using spiritual strength to examine another person was incredibly disrespectful. That was like stripping a woman of her clothes to examine all her secrets. It would create great enmity between the two parties. You're all courting death. Seeing this many people's spiritual strengths surging towards him, Wang Yishan was furious, but panic flashed in his eyes. But suddenly, Sun Changsho waved his hand, and a powerful spiritual strength surged out of him. Those people trying to examine Wang Yishan let out miserable cries, and they held their heads in agony. For you to insult the Sky Cry Mansion's master like this, are you declaring war against the Sky Cry Mansion? Shouted Sun Changsho. A cover-up only makes it worse, sneered Long Chen. But what Long Chen hadn't expected was that these impassioned people, who had wanted to kill Wang Yishan just now, actually became silent now. Right now, the three great powers had joined hands to target Mo Gate. But these people were just a bunch of weaklings. Although they were furious, they didn't dare charge into this huge vortex. In the end, they still simply endured it. Do you see? This is what it means to be an overcautious coward. Their own children were killed, but they still swallow their anger. I can guarantee that even if their wives were taken by others, they would still grin and bear it because of their big picture. When people first decide to step onto the path of cultivation, they are filled with hot blood and are fearless. But as they concede to others more and more, they will become a coward. Such people are unable to control their family's fate, and they're also unable to control their own fate. The cultivation world is just like that. The more you fear death, the easier it will be for you to die. You, Emonian, have already become accustomed to taking the big picture into consideration. If you continue to make it your habit to concede, then these people will be your future, said Longchen. Emonian's heart shook and he even began to sweat. Looking at these people's furious expressions and how unwilling they were, he immediately understood what Longchen meant. If Emonian was in their position, would he also choose to swallow his anger in front of an enormous existence he couldn't possibly withstand? If you simply swallowed your anger for the so-called big picture, what were you cultivating for? What were you living for? A harsh light shone in his eyes. He unconsciously puffed out his chest, and a formless aura slowly began to rise out of his body. Emo Yunshan looked at his son, and he clenched his hands that were hidden within his sleeves. He could sense the change in Emonian's mental realm. This was a kind of transformation, and this transformation could bring him endless benefits. At the same time as he was excited, he also felt a bit ashamed. He had been with his son for so long, but the only way he knew how to communicate with his son was with his fists. He had never communicated with Emonian like Longchen had, or perhaps his son would not have had that kind of temperament. Longchen, you can stop trying to sow dissension. It's already fated that you'll be unable to leave Qingzhou City alive. Wang Yishan now hated Longchen to the bone. He had done things perfectly for this many years, not leaving behind a single clue as to his actions. But now he had been exposed. Sowing dissension? Let me say it again. Who do you think I, Longchen, am? A piece of trash like you isn't worth me sowing dissension, said Longchen lightly. His words didn't even place this half-step C expansion expert in his eyes. That wasn't a show-off but a contempt that came from the depths of his bones. The domineeringness Longchen had displayed made everyone apprehensive. Longchen's confidence all came from himself and not some outer strength. That was an arrogant will to look down on all. This Longchen is very interesting. Within a secret corner, there were two women looking at Longchen. One of them was roving her gaze over him. Has Big Sister taken a fancy to him? Then do you want to see if he is your legendary soulmate? Laughed the other woman. Foolish girl, you're once again babbling nonsense. Is a soulmate so easy to find? I just feel that this Longchen seems to have caused the entire world to become discordant. It's a very strange feeling. How come I can't sense that? All I feel is that he's very handsome and lofty. I wonder how challenging it is to seduce such a man, hee. Little girl, looks like your heart really is reluctant to leave the mundane world. Do you want to stop cultivating? If you spout nonsense again, I'll have to give you a spanking. Don't say any more, or others will notice us. On the street, swords were drawn and bows were bent. On one side were the three great powers sect leaders, while on the other side were Emo Yunshan, Longchen, and Emonian. Emo Yunshan looked at the three of them, impatiently saying, if you have something to say, then say it. If you have farts to release, then release them. If you want to fight, then let's hurry up and fight. If you don't, then fuck off. I still have to hold a welcoming dinner for my nephew. I don't have time for your crap. The three of them only dared to move their mouths, not their fists, causing him to become impatient. But Longchen saw something within their eyes. Emo Yunshan, don't think yourself to be so amazing just because you've managed to touch the barrier. You still need some time to truly reach half-step C expansion. This is Qingzhou City, and we're worried about people's safety, so we'll leave this matter here for today. But don't let your Emo family assume this matter will end just like this. Now that your Mo family has been cut off from medicinal pills, you'll inevitably decline. I'd advise you to be a bit more obedient, or the consequences will be very dire, said Sun Changsho icily. Ha ha. Mo Yunshan raised his head and laughed. An arrow suddenly shot straight towards Sun Changsho. Sun Changsho was shocked, never imagining Mo Yunshan would dare do such a thing. Before he could do anything, the arrow was already right in front of him. He hastily slammed his palm forward. Bang! His palm shattered the arrow, but he was blown back dozens of meters, appearing extremely miserable. You can cut the crap. Let's fight. Mo Yunshan raised his bow grandly, taking his fighting posture. You? Fine, count yourself as vicious. We're leaving. Sun Changsho was furious, but in the end he still left with Luo Yingxiong and Wang Yishan. Watching them leave, Mo Yunshan's expression was disdainful. He said to Mo Nian, "Our Mo family's men don't use our mouths when we can use our fists. Our strong point isn't our spit, our strong point is killing people. You have to learn how to take advantage of your strengths to resolve your problems. Only then can you make the most profit efficiently." Mo Nian's mental realm had changed today. Although Mo Yunshan had said the same words to him many times before, today he finally understood their true meaning. I understand, Dad. Mo Nian nodded. Ha, good, then let's go back to Mo Gate and drink. Mo Yunshan led Long Chen and Mo Nian away. Long Chen and Mo Nian invited the Mushue mercenary unit to join them, but they diplomatically refused. After all, they were not on the same level. Going to Mo Gate would definitely make them feel ill at ease. They preferred their freedom. Long Chen didn't force them. Saying goodbye, he said that they could come to find him at Mo Gate at any time. Once they left, the spectators also disappeared. Moe looked at the almost destroyed street, a flash of suspicion appearing in his eyes. Has the time still not come? They actually retreated again. Interesting. Moe looked towards a certain direction. He sensed a powerful existence there. That existence should also be able to sense him. However, neither of them made any movements. They simply watched each other through space for a moment before they both disappeared. Everyone's gone. How boring. I thought there'd be an exciting battle. The two women walked out. They were wearing robes and bamboo hats that hid their faces and figures. Don't complain. Let's hurry up and return. Night's coming, and if we still don't go back, we'll be scolded by the pavilion master. The two mysterious women also disappeared from the street. In the end, only the disorderly mess in the street remained to mark what had happened. Chapter 559. 559. Mo Gate was located on the north side of Qingzhou City. It wasn't too large, only taking up an area of 300 miles. All of Mo Gate was situated atop a large, stone mountain, looking just like an ancient city of stone. Currently, the core experts of the Mo family were gathered within a large hall. The only outsider present was Long Chen. Here, he saw a truly world-shaking figure, Mo Gate's current master. This tall, mountain-like elder made him feel an unprecedented pressure. He seemed like a massive volcano. Once he erupted, it could destroy the world. In front of Mo, Long Chen felt himself to be as minuscule as an ant. That aura from him was even more terrifying than Shui Wuhan's. Little fellows, your display today was really not bad. You've gained some face for Mo Gate, Mo said to Long Chen and Mo Nian. You overpraise. All I know how to do is cause a bit of trouble, said Long Chen. As for Mo Nian, he had originally been standing side by side with Long Chen, but as soon as Mo came over, he involuntarily shivered and took a step back. Little brat, what are you retreating for? Mo Yi's expression sank and he glared at Mo Nian. His tall stature and mountain-like imposingness made his glare so intimidating that even Long Chen jumped. Just now, he had been so amicable. How did he turn hostile in just an instant? The Mo family's experts were astonished not by this change, but by how pleased their old man had been acting. It had to be known that for as long as they had known him, they had rarely seen him speak so pleasantly. His praise for Emo Nien and Long Chen was unprecedented, but seeing Emo Nien cowering, his fury immediately soared. "I'm afraid you'll hit me. I can't beat you, so why can't I retreat?" raged Emo Nien. "So, you're saying if you could beat me, you'd fight me?" Emo Yi's expression sank. Who knew what was going on with Emo Nien today, but with Long Chen by his side, it seemed his guts had grown a great deal, and he shouted, "Even 10 years aren't too late for revenge. I remember every single beating you gave me. There will sooner or later come a day when I repay it all." The entire hall became silent as everyone looked at Emo Nien oddly. "Haha." Emo Yi suddenly laughed and appeared right in front of Emo Nien. Emo Nien reflexively raised his arms to protect his head. But unexpectedly, he just patted him on the shoulder and praised, "Good. I suppose you have at least a slight backbone. I'll wait to see whether you can get your revenge within the next 10 years. Emo Nien was stunned. It seemed that in all his living memory, he had never received such nice words from his grandfather. "Don't just stupidly stand there. Hurry up and eat. Today, Niener's friend has come, and will take Niener's place to hold a welcoming celebration for Long Chen," laughed Emo Yi. He was extremely happy today. He was smiling more than he had in the past few decades. Long Chen noticed that all those who could sit in this place were Emo Gate's core experts. They were all Xiantian experts, and he was shocked to see there were over 300 of them. They really were worthy of being Qing Prefecture's ruler. This was an overwhelming strength. However, Long Chen noticed that Emo Nien, their junior gate master, didn't seem to have any special status here. Only after he asked Emo Nien did he learn that these people were all Emo Nien's seniors. The only reason he even had the qualifications to eat with them was because of his status. Emo Gate cared a great deal about seniority and strength. Emo Nien's title of junior gate master didn't give them any special feeling. If he relied on his status to act arrogant in front of them, then these people would immediately give him a beating. Just mentioning that made Emo Nien furious. Usually, a family's junior master would be above the masses. But instead, he was often put in his place. It was truly stifling. However, the leader of Emo Gate had already said that junior master was just a title. If he wanted to convince everyone, he needed enough strength. But these people here were all Xiantian experts. Emo Nien could only be suppressed. Emo Yi especially had already broken Emo Nien's courage in that regard, and each time he saw his grandfather, he would cower. "Dad, tell me, what drugs did those 3 idiots take today?" Even after it reached that point, they still retreated. Once everyone had eaten their fill, Emo Yunshan asked the question that had been on his mind. Emo Yi smiled slightly. According to their previous arrangements, they probably would have tried to have a large battle with us in the near future to test our power. However, Long Chen's arrival skewed their plans. That Luo Yingxiong's son ended up being killed, and so he went to go find Long Chen. The other two should have received the news and decided that they weren't prepared enough. However, that shouldn't be the main reason. Instead, it's because the person behind them ordered them to retreat. "Do you know who that person targeting us is?" asked Emo Yunshan. "There are quite a few people who have passed grievances with our Emo Gate's ancestors. Back then, when we withdrew from the ancient family alliance, we offended many people. Now, tens of thousands of years have passed. Our Emo family has always been low-key, letting those powers believe that we've declined. Now they want to hit us while we're down. Hee hee, how laughable. Although I didn't see who they were, I sensed their aura. You don't need to worry. They probably won't personally take action. It's just a bunch of senseless tricks. All you have to remember is to act as you should act. There's no need to have any misgivings. Even if the heavens collapse, I'll be there to keep them up." Emo Yi's voice was full of unconcealable domineeringness. Perhaps it is destined for Long Chen to have come here at this time. In a few days, when it's time for the ancestral inheritance, Long Chen can enter with the others, said Emo. His words surprised everyone, and one person said, "But the quota to enter is only 10, and they've long since been taken. Give Emo Shi's spot to Long Chen. His qualifications are the most lacking, And even if he entered, there'd be no hope for him. Even Yenner only has a 50% chance of succeeding, let alone him. It's better to let Long Chen test his luck, said Mo. But Long Chen isn't a member of the Mo family. Isn't this inappropriate? There's nothing inappropriate about it. I've already said my wish, so just obediently shut up, said Mo. Long Chen was confused, and he asked Mo Nian, what is this ancestral inheritance? Mo Nian whispered, Brat, you're very lucky. This ancestral inheritance is something left behind by the top experts our Mo family has produced. Before they died, they sealed their heavenly Tao seed within them so that they could be absorbed by their descendants. Those mighty experts were all celestials. As for celestials, well, forget about it. Even if I explained it, you wouldn't understand. In any case, they are rivalless masters of being badass. If you can obtain that inheritance, your badassness would shake the heavens. Celestials? Long Chen was startled. Had Yin Wushang also gained such an inheritance? Our Mo family was once glorious to the peak. Regrettably, I don't know why, but we later declined. We only managed to retain 10 statues of our ancestors. Unfortunately, even after all these years, no one has been able to inherit the heavenly Tao seeds inside them. To inherit a heavenly Tao seed requires you to have a strong affinity with it as well as a shocking talent. I feel like you have a high chance, said Mo Nian. I feel like you should give the opportunity to someone else. I most likely won't be up to it. Long Chen shook his head. What kind of joke was that? He was someone expelled by the heavenly Taos. How could that heavenly Tao seed allow itself to be inherited by him? You should tell your old man. I really won't be capable and it's a shame to waste it, advised Long Chen. Tisich, are you trying to get me beaten? You know how tyrannical that man is. The things he decides, no one can change. Even if you don't want to go, you have to go, whispered Mo Nian. Teach, now he had to go even if he didn't want to go? Long Chen bitterly smiled inside. You don't need to worry. This time, we have the hidden ground spider's core. That'll let our Mo family's alchemists refine the 9 revolution Tao Heart pill. It'll greatly increase our chances of succeeding, said Mo Nian. Your Mo family's alchemists? What quality of 9 revolution Tao Heart pill can they refine? Asked Long Chen. It seems that if their luck is good, they can refine a 1-ring high-grade medicinal pill, said Mo Nian, unsure. 1 ring? Then you should just give the core to me. I'll refine it in a way that's not so wasteful, said Long Chen. You. Mo Nian was doubtful, but he still gave the core to him. You can be at ease, said Long Chen, patting his own chest. The 9 revolution Tao Heart pill was a 5th-tier medicinal pill. However, now that Long Chen had reached meridian opening, his spiritual strength had become even stronger, so it wasn't a problem. After finishing their meal, Mo held a meeting with everyone. That had nothing to do with Long Chen and Mo Nian, so the two slipped away. Mo Nian, I still feel like this matter is a bit inappropriate, said Long Chen with hesitation. When did you become like this? This matter was decided by the old man, and no one can change it, said Mo Nian. This probably won't be good for your family's internal harmony. After all, anyone would be mad that their spot was taken, said Long Chen. You're overthinking it. This inheritance isn't so easy to obtain. Not one person has obtained it in tens of thousands of years. My father said that even with my talent, I only have a 50% chance, and that's already incredibly high amongst all our past generations. Other people are basically just extras, and they all know that. It's just a formality. Don't worry, our Mo family's people are all magnanimous men. Mo Nian laughed. How come these words sound completely different from your mouth than from Uncle Mo? Long Chen also laughed. Tisich, what are you implying? Are you trying to say I'm not manly enough? Then should we find somewhere to have a little competition? Raged Mo Nian. Teach, if you have that much energy, then you should go kill some more enemies. What competition are you planning to have with me? Long Chen shook his head. Long Chen, today, you've given me a wake-up call. I really did have too many misgivings. Starting today, I'll return to my true self. Wait here. I'll go to my grandfather's private room and steal some jugs of good wine. Let me say, those are the true fine wine. They've all been stored in cellars for over 1,000 years, hee. Emonian actually involuntarily began to salivate. Alright then go. But make sure not to take the one you pissed in back then, reminded Long Chen. Once Emonian left, Long Chen just strolled around Emonian's small courtyard. The walls of his room had been carved into statues. He was in the midst of examining them when an icy voice rang out. Who are you? Chapter 560 Strange Woman. Long Chen turned back and saw a woman looking at him vigilantly. She had a slender figure. Long eyebrows framed her phoenix eyes. She was extremely beautiful, but her hair was like a man's, bound behind her head. She gave off a valiant feeling. Her aura was formidable, and her eyes were like swords as she glared at Long Chen. Long Chen's heart involuntarily trembled. This woman was extremely powerful. Long Chen sensed an intense pressure from this woman. That kind of pressure was something even Emonian was unable to give him. That made him a bit bewildered. How could there be an even more terrifying genius than Emonian in Emogate? I am Emonian's friend. Although he didn't know who this woman was, he still answered. He thought that rather than reporting his own name, it would be better to say Emonian's name. You are Long Chen? She asked. She knows me? Long Chen smiled slightly. Yes. What he hadn't expected was for her expression to immediately sink, and for her to rage. So it was you. You bastard, you're the one who led Emonian astray. Today, just watch as I teach a womanizer like you a lesson. After saying that, she pushed out a palm, and a fierce astral wind enveloped Long Chen. With just a single palm, she sealed off any of his retreat paths. Hey, has there been some sort of misunderstanding? I don't even know you. Long Chen hastily fell back, feeling befuddled. How did this woman turn hostile so quickly? Furthermore, she was attacking within Mo Gate. Her guts were a bit too big. There's no misunderstanding. Ever since Emonian got to know you, he began to stray. Today, if I don't teach you a lesson, you'll think all women are easy to bully. The woman snorted upon seeing Long Chen fall back. She didn't move her body, but somehow, her palm seemed to pierce through the restrictions of space to reach him. Long Chen was completely baffled, and he raged, The only reason I'm letting you be so willful is because you're a woman. If you still don't know how to appreciate kindness, don't blame me for attacking. Just you. If you can even last 10 exchanges with me, it will count as your win. She snorted, her palm continuing forward. Now, Long Chen had nowhere else to go. In front of this overbearing woman, he couldn't help but feel some rage. That was especially so with how arrogant she was, saying that he couldn't even last 10 exchanges. That was definitely bullying. He knew she wasn't a simple woman, and in the face of her valiant palm, he sent out his own fist. A muffled bang rang out. Long Chen was startled. He had already used 30% of his strength, but she wasn't shaken in the slightest. It had to be known that his power had already reached an abnormal level, but this woman was also still relying purely on her physical strength. Her power was definitely shocking. You still dare hold back? Are you looking down on me? Then just let me see what qualifications you have to make countless women favor you. The woman snorted, and suddenly, a vast power erupted from her. The ground beneath their feet became covered in cracks. Long Chen had to hastily circulate his own energy to resist. Looking at that woman, he suddenly understood something. Boom! With the two of them circulating their strength, the powerful force blew up Emonian's courtyard. You must be Emonian's fiancé, correct? Are you trying to destroy Emonian's home? How about we just both stop here? It wouldn't be good to alarm the elders, said Long Chen. The way she was clenching her teeth along with the grievance in her words made Long Chen connect her to when Emonian had asked Long Chen to teach him his divine pickup techniques. Now that this heroic woman appeared in front of him, he suddenly understood. The bridge of her nose and her lips were thinner than average. Judging strictly by facial appearances, such women tended to be extremely powerful and tough. It was the typical model of a strong woman. Such people all had stubborn temperaments. It was no wonder Mo Nian would be so vexed. Such a woman definitely wouldn't share their man with someone else. A pretentious coward without the slightest mettle of a man. Even you could manage to captivate a woman? Those women must really have problems with their eyes, she sneered. She was increasing the strength of her palm more and more, without the slightest intent to retreat. The reason I'm still letting you off is because you are Mo Nian's woman. I'm giving face to Mo Nian, so you can insult me. But don't insult my women, because that will make me angry. Long Chen's expression sank and his eyes were like two icy blades. Long Chen's gaze made that woman's heart pound. In that instant, she felt as if an ancient monster had awakened, and an intense sense of danger filled her. So what if you're angry? Did you think that just because you have some looks and a bit of power you can play with their emotions? Today, Big Sister will take this chance to teach you a lesson. Don't think yourself to be infallible. Not all women are weak. Not all women need to rely on a man to live. Following her furious roar, her aura completely erupted, feeling like an ocean wave crashing onto the shore. In that instant, she revealed her mid-meridian opening cultivation base. But that vast power was practically irresistible. Long Chen was also furious with her. Her words had ended up touching Meng Qi and the others, and that was something no one could touch. With a snort, his spiritual qi began to rapidly circulate within his meridians. Boom! Once again, a powerful explosion rocked Mo Nian's courtyard. Now, nothing remained of it. Long Chen no longer cared. If Mo Nian's girlfriend didn't care, then he shouldn't blame his brother for this. If Mo Nian wanted someone to blame, he could only blame this girlfriend of his. Now, all of Mo Gate was startled. But unexpectedly, when they saw this woman, their expressions became odd and they simply watched from a distance. The higher levels of the Mo family also arrived. When Mo saw the two of them, he just found a place to sit and watch the show. The thing that depressed Long Chen the most was that at some unknown point, Mo Nian had also appeared in the crowd. However, he didn't help, instead finding a good place to watch. Mo Nian, you little coward, hurry up and handle your girlfriend, raged Long Chen. Mo Nian curled his lips, thinking to himself, brother, if I could handle her, I would have done it ages ago. Good brothers should share fortune and disaster together, so don't blame me for not standing by you. Even if you shout until your throat's sore, no one will help you. The Mo family's rules are just like that, and only strength is respected. Ever since that brat Mo Nian met you, he started to go astray. He's always trying to chase other girls' skirts. I don't even know how many times I've had to sort him out. Still, that brat still refuses to repent, saying unless I can sort you out too, making you also not fickle in love, he won't live peacefully with just me. Today, I'll make you fully submit so that urge of Mo Nian's completely dies. However, as long as you swear to be faithful to one woman until the day you die, I can let you off right now, she said icily. Long Chen countered, what do your matters have to do with me? Look after your own man. Mo Nian said your brother's with him, and that brothers are like hands and feet, while women are like clothes. Apparently, you are more important to him than me. If I can't change you, I don't have the qualifications to change him. If you have any complaints, go complain to Mo Nian. Fuck, Mo Nian, you little bastard, you really are trying to con me. Long Chen roared furiously. What kind of logic was this? They definitely had to be mentally ill. That bastard Mo Nian had actually used such nonsense reasoning to drag him down. As for Mo Nian's uncle, he just laughingly stood by Mo Nian's grandfather. He didn't get angry, instead just watching Long Chen. Long Chen's fist was still blocking that woman's palm. The two of them were increasing their power more and more, and the ground was covered in growing spider web-like cracks. However, once those cracks spread several hundred meters, they stopped and actually began to fuse back together. Long Chen, you aren't my match. As long you promise to be a faithful man in the future, I won't make it hard on you anymore. But if you refuse each time I see you and Emonyen, I'll have to give you a beating, she said. Long Chen looked at Emonyen and saw his delighted expression as if dragging a person down was a delightful thing. He raged, Emonyen, you bastard, how dare you abuse me like this? I suppose there's no need for me to keep that matter from the Jiuli's secret realm's secret anymore. You know, I never told anyone about how you and that woman from the unfettered sect flirted back and forth. For you to treat me like this, are you even a real brother? As soon as Long Chen's voice rang out, Emonyen's expression completely changed and he raged, when did I ever flirt with a woman from the unfettered sect? Don't spout nonsense, Long Chen. Emonyen had never imagined Long Chen would be this vicious, lying through his teeth without batting an eye. That faked, furious expression of his had almost managed to dupe even him. As for his fiancée, her expression became icy and she glared at Emonyen. Emonyen felt his hair stand on end. Zongying, don't listen to his lies. He's intentionally trying to frame me. That matter is completely fabricated. He explained hastily. Emonyen, are you even a man? That woman promised you that once you both reached the Xiantian realm, she would give you a bunch of babies. Have you forgotten? For you to say such pitiless words, how are you worthy of her love? Cried Long Chen righteously, barely keeping his delight inside. Emonyen's face turned green. Long Chen was definitely trying to get him killed. Seeing his fiancée's ashen expression, he knew explaining would be useless. His heart became icy cold. Miss, you should forgive Emonyen. Think about how much that woman loves Emonyen. How can you have the heart to separate them? If everyone was together, having babies together, spreading the Mo family's branches, how great would that be? Long Chen struck while the iron was still hot. Shut up. You think I would fall for your scheme? You and Emonyen are both rotten things, and today, I'll first subdue you and then handle Emonyen. Buzz! Suddenly, heaven and earth rumbled, and countless runes filled the air, revolving around her. Long Chen's pupils shrank. Cry of the heavenly Daos. Chapter 561, 561. Countless runes condensed in the air, surrounding that woman. The void trembled in a rhythmic cadence. She's actually a celestial. Long Chen was now too familiar with this manifestation, because in that instant he felt the will of the heavenly Daos expel him. He sensed the world immediately become inharmonious with him. He was isolated and also suppressed by some kind of energy, making it so he couldn't absorb more spiritual qi. This was a celestial's manifestation, the cry of the heavenly Daos. It was a very resounding, very arrogant name. But Long Chen was filled with hate and killing intent towards this manifestation. The instant she activated her manifestation, all the Mo family's experts' pupils shrank. Although they had known she was a celestial, the cry of the heavenly Daos was rarely seen. Furthermore, even if you saw this manifestation 100 times, you would still be incomparably shocked. This represented the will of the heavenly Daos, something no one could resist. This was why celestials were termed the top heavenly geniuses of this world. Under that heavenly Dao suppression, even Xiantian experts would have to lower their heads. Emonyen clenched his fists tightly. If it weren't for this manifestation, he wouldn't need to be afraid of her. If he could just defeat her, then he would be completely free. What he said would be what counted. But before he could defeat this fiancée of his, he would have to listen to her. Boom! The ground beneath Long Chen emitted an explosive sound. The strength behind her palm multiplied, and it was like a mountain trying to crush Long Chen. Long Chen instantly sank into an inferior position, the ground beneath him crumbling. Her power had explosively increased, while his own was being reduced. Let's stop. Don't play this kind of nonsensical game, sighed Long Chen. Admit defeat. You aren't a celestial, and there's no way you are my match, she advised. Let me say it again, let's stop playing this nonsensical game. You aren't able to suppress me, said Long Chen icily. Long Chen's expression was dark, and his eyes shone coldly. A dense killing intent was surfacing out of his heart. He was currently doing his best to suppress that killing intent. That killing intent wasn't towards this woman but towards the cry of the heavenly Daos. After entering the meridian opening realm, Long Chen's primal chaos bead had become stronger and endless energy filled him. He felt as if his own blood was boiling. He knew this was the involuntary reaction of the 9-star Hegemon body art towards the cry of the heavenly Daos. It felt an intense desire to destroy it, which caused Long Chen to feel an urge to kill this woman. But this woman wasn't really an enemy. In fact, she was Emon Yen's fiancée, so there was no way he could kill her. That was why he was giving her a warning. However, she didn't notice the situation, causing him to feel anger. As soon as he got angry, the killing intent became even stronger. "Did you hear me? I said stop." Long Chen suddenly roared and killing intent surged out of him. This terrifying killing intent caused the world to shiver. His roar was like thunder, and he seemed like a devil as he stood there. That killing intent grew stronger and stronger, and the Mo family's experts that were spectating all felt their hearts turn cold. It was as if Long Chen had transformed into a bloodthirsty monster that might go berserk at any moment. That intense feeling of danger caused their hair to stand on end. "You!" That woman also sensed it. A terrifying energy was on the verge of erupting from Long Chen's body. However, she had no intentions of retreating. Bang! Suddenly, a gentle force appeared between their hands, and the two of them were immediately blown back dozens of meters. "Gate Master!" The woman turned her head to see Moe had already stood up. It was he who had separated the two of them. "Zongying, let this competition go as a draw. We're all one family, so there's no need to go all out. Long Chen didn't win, and you didn't lose. The matters between you and Emon Yen should be resolved between the two of you. Let me say the same thing again, whoever is stronger has the bigger voice." Moe smiled towards her. "I'll listen to Gate Master's instructions." She hastily bowed. Evidently, she was extremely respectful towards Moe. Once she put away her manifestation, Long Chen gradually returned to normal. Even he didn't know why his reaction towards this manifestation of the heavenly Daos had become so intense after advancing to meridian opening. Back when he had faced Yin Wushang, all he had felt was rejection. But now, he had almost been unable to suppress his own emotions. That killing intent and hate was uncontrollable. "Don't be angry, Long Chen. Our Mo family's people all have this kind of temperament. We also don't treat you like an outsider now that you're here. A battle between youngsters isn't some bad thing. Here, let me give you an introduction. This is Emon Yen's fiancée, Lu Zongying." Seeing that Long Chen's expression was still a bit gloomy, he thought Long Chen might still hold some ill feelings towards her, so he opened his mouth. "Hey, you couldn't actually be angry, right? For a man to be so petty, getting angry just because he couldn't win, that would be too unmanly. But if you really are angry, I will apologize to you," said Lu Zongying magnanimously, extending a hand towards him. Long Chen smiled bitterly inside. Why did it seem like she wanted him to say he wasn't a man? He wasn't actually angry, but just now, he had almost gone berserk. If he really did go berserk and go all out, that would cause a huge disturbance. If Lu Zongying was an enemy, then fine, but the main problem was that she wasn't. Now that she had extended her hand so heroically, he couldn't help sighing emotionally. Emon Yen really was lucky to run into such a top-grade person. "No need for an apology. I'm not so petty. I suppose it's as the expression goes, you can't make friends without fighting." Long Chen also extended his hand. Originally, he had just been intending on having a gentle shake with her to express that any of their grievances ended here. He hadn't expected her hand to tightly clench his. He felt as if his hand was caught in an iron loop. Long Chen immediately felt an urge to laugh. This woman really was peak grade. Even at this time, she didn't give up a chance to compete. But it went without saying that Lu Zongying's strength was incredible. Let alone another woman, even a male Xiantian expert who spent years bitterly training his physical body wouldn't necessarily be stronger than her. If it was just physical strength, Long Chen wouldn't fear anyone. No matter how Lu Zongying tried, Long Chen just smiled calmly. What kind of joke was that? His body had been tempered by heavenly tribulation. Within the same realm, the only one who could make him feel pain in this way was probably Wild. If you keep holding my hand like that, Emon Yen will get jealous, said Long Chen bashfully. No, I won't get jealous. You can keep holding it for a while. Emon Yen laughed. Of course, he wouldn't be jealous. Just from Lu Zongying's posture, he knew what was going on. His bones had already been crushed several times now. He really was not the slightest bit jealous. All right, Zongying, why have you suddenly come here? Mo Yunshan finally interjected to defuse the situation. Uncle Mo, my father wanted me to give you a letter. Only now did Lu Zongying remember her proper business and hand over a letter. Mo Yunshan read that letter and smiled coldly. He then handed it to Mo. Moe didn't have any expression upon reading it. There are always people who like to join in on the fun. But that's not always a bad thing. Zongying, if you have nothing else to do, you should live here for a few days. With Emon Yen and Long Chen present, you'll have some playmates, said Mo Yunshan. Hearing that, Emon Yen's expression instantly changed. If he was able to defeat this father of his, he would have long since attacked. Wasn't he trying to harm him now? I still have one more matter to take care of. Once I finish it, I'll come back to find Emon Yen. Gatemaster, Uncle Mo, I'll take my leave first. Lu Zongying bowed towards Mo and Mo Yunshan. Afterward, she walked over to Emon Yen. You better listen to me. Unless your strength surpasses mine, don't even think about being fickle-hearted and getting multiple wives. Lu Zongying left just like that. She was extremely direct and straightforward. Once Lu Zongying left, Mo told Long Chen and Emon Yen to stay inside for a few days. They were about to attempt to attain the ancestral inheritance. They had to maintain their peak state. Then the others left, and it was only Long Chen and Emon Yen. Long Chen looked at Emon Yen, not saying anything, merely laughing mischievously. Emon Yen was a bit scared of Long Chen's laughter. He awkwardly said, "Well, now you've seen my future wife. So that means I really treat you like a real brother. Tell me, did you do this intentionally or not? You wanted me to be your shield?" Raged Long Chen. As soon as Emon Yen had left, Lu Zongying had arrived. That was definitely a trap. I swear, I had no idea she would come. Otherwise, no matter what, I definitely wouldn't con you. I really went to get the wine. But when I returned, I saw her and then, said Emon Yen. Emon Yen, are you even a man? Don't you feel it's embarrassing to be this afraid of your woman? Said Long Chen. Please, you don't even understand my struggles. Would you like to try having such a valiant woman? Our arranged marriage was set when I was just 6 years old. She has bullied me for 12 whole years, and I haven't had the slightest chance to reverse the scales. Cried Emon Yen helplessly. You were actually childhood friends? Asked Long Chen. Childhood friends? As if, when she was 10, she awakened as a celestial. My talent was never able to compare to hers. More importantly, my Mo family's cultivation technique focuses on offense, not defense. It's not like I can really attack her mercilessly. Cough. Well, the main point is that even if I did, I wouldn't be able to beat her. Each time I can only be bullied by her. So, I want to switch to a more gentle woman. But you've also seen just how difficult it is to achieve such a grand dream. Right now, my only hope is the ancestral inheritance. If I can obtain that inheritance, there will still be a chance I can reverse the tides. But if I fail, then just thinking about those dark days will make me want to kill myself, said Emon Yen bitterly. This was Long Chen's first time feeling a trace of sympathy for Emon Yen. His grievance faded a great deal. He supposed it really was difficult for a man to live this way. It's all right, don't cry. Let's go find a place to taste your old man's fine wine. Then I'll help you refine pills in preparation for the inheritance. Long Chen and Emon Yen switched locations. They chatted as they drank, and only then did Long Chen learn that the Mo family and the Lu family were old friends. However, it seemed that since the Mo family declined, the differences between the two had only grown. As for the specifics, Mo Nian didn't know. Only the higher-ups of the family knew, and they all kept their mouths tightly sealed. After resting for a bit, Long Chen had Mo Nian keep watch as he began refining. As a result, when he refined a furnace of pills in front of him, Mo Nian became dumbfounded. Chapter 562. Within the pill furnace were 9 6-ring 9-revolution Dao Heart pills. When Mo Nian saw that, he practically didn't believe his eyes. Long Chen refined a total of 2 furnaces of pills. The Mo family only had 10 spots for this inheritance, and so his 18 9-revolution Dao Heart pills were enough. After the refinement, the two began to meditate, allowing themselves to reach their peak states. 3 days later, someone came to inform the two of them to start going to the inheritance land. What Long Chen hadn't expected was that the Mo family's inheritance land was right below Mo Gate. They went through a winding channel underground. They went deeper and deeper. Long Chen could sense an ancient aura filling the air. There were a total of 10 young disciples, while the person leading them was Mo Yunshan. It could be seen just how important this inheritance was. Long Chen was surprised that they had to travel for a full 6 hours before they arrived in front of a huge stone gate. This stone gate was 300 meters tall, and ancient runes were carved into it. He felt extremely stifled here. Atop the stone gate was a sparkling crystal. A white light shone from the crystal. Mo Yunshan walked to the top of the stone gate and dripped a drop of his purest essence blood onto it. His essence blood formed a strange diagram on the crystal, looking similar to a rune. The stone gate slowly opened. A heavy aura burst out, and Long Chen felt an ocean-like pressure crash down on him. It was like a mountain had suddenly appeared on top of him, and even space seemed to freeze. Other than Long Chen and Mo Nian, the others all vomited a mouthful of blood. Under that terrifying pressure, they were all injured. Long Chen hastily looked inside to see a wide hall. It was a square mile and was also 300 meters high. On the wall in front of them were 10 immense statues that were as tall as the entire hall. Boundless pressure came from them. "Go in. I'll close the gate. The ancestral pressure inside will be very beneficial to your cultivation. Don't waste this chance." After sending them in, Mo Yunshan slowly closed the stone gate. When the stone gate was closed, the pressure inside the hall grew even greater. It was like they were at the bottom of a reservoir that was currently storing more and more water. This is the ancestral bloodline pressure. Don't resist it. Borrow the pressure to purify your bloodline energy, said Mo Nian. These people had all been told about this before entering, and so they all sat down, allowing the pressure to wash over them. Long Chen knew this was the benevolence left behind by their ancestors. The Mo family's ancestors had left behind their own bloodline qi here to help their descendants. Only today did Long Chen understand what was called having a strong foundation. The Mo family had once been an ancient family. Even though they had withdrawn from the ancient family alliance, their foundation was still present. Let alone everything else, just the 10 statues here were enough to benefit their descendants greatly. These statues were incredibly ancient. It was unknown just how many years they had survived. Furthermore, for those ancestors to have been able to preserve their bloodline energy all the way until now, it was unknown just how strong they had to have been. Thinking of that, Long Chen suddenly felt himself to be extremely minuscule. The spirit world expert, the barbarian race skeleton in the Julie secret realm, and these statues in front of him made him feel like he still had a long, long path in front of him. His path stretched so far that he wasn't even able to see the destination. Compared to Mo Nian and the others, he had nothing to do right now. He wasn't a disciple of the Mo family, and so he was unable to connect to their bloodline. In fact, Long Chen didn't even know anything about his own bloodline. Once his spirit blood had been taken, his bloodline energy had been snatched away as well. Right now, there were no bloodline runes in his blood, so there was no way for him to activate his bloodline energy. However, he had the 9-star Hegemon body art. When it was activated, he wouldn't be suppressed by any bloodline. Otherwise, under a bloodline pressure and the suppression of the heavenly Daos, he really would be stifled to death. It could be said that the 9-star Hegemon body art was his strongest skill. Only after more than 2 hours did Emonian slowly open his eyes. A new rune had appeared on his forehead, the same rune as the one outside the stone gate. When that rune appeared, a light rumbling began to come from Emonian's body, and a powerful bloodline pressure began to rise. However, Emonian quickly reined it in. The rune on his forehead also disappeared. Congratulations on activating your bloodline pressure. Longchen smiled. Emonian smiled. In truth, it isn't activating but undoing a seal. My Emo family's disciples all have their bloodline energy sealed. This is just lifting the seal. Lifting the seal. Yes. This seal is something we placed on ourselves. There are 2 reasons to do this. One is that our Emo family's bloodline is no longer pure, so doing this can minimize the amount of bloodline energy that dissipates over time. That way, we can keep our bloodline going for more generations without the quality dropping. The other reason is that my Emo family is trying to be low-key. There are enemies watching us. We're just waiting for a chance to soar. Even though we've unsealed our bloodline, we'll still keep it hidden, and we won't reveal it easily. This is to mislead our opponents, said Emonian. Won't doing this cause the opposite of what you want? If you let your opponents consider you as prey, they'll just devour you in one gulp. Longchen shook his head. Hee hee, did you think those jumping clowns out there are our match? They're far too lacking. Let's not talk about that right now. It seems like everyone's done. Let's go look at the statues. Just like that, Emonian brought everyone over to the first huge statue. Once he got closer, Longchen realized that these weren't stone statues but wooden statues. This wood was harder than iron, and countless lines covered it. Those natural lines seemed like a marvelous formation that was sending some kind of mysterious energy into the statue. This is the inheritance statue. According to Father, we used to have many, but now we only have these 10. These wooden statues each have a heavenly Dao seed of an almighty expert from our family. They sealed their own Dao seeds for their descendants. Each one of them was once an amazing figure. They were world-shaking celestials. But after so many generations, us, their descendants, have been unable to even obtain the treasures that our ancestors left behind for us. Just thinking about it is depressing. Emonian couldn't help sighing regretfully. The Emo family's disciples were also ashamed. They were unable to even take the treasures that their ancestors had left for them. That was truly enough to make a person too ashamed to show their face. Junior Gate Master, you'll definitely succeed, said one of them. They were all confident in Emonian. You guys shouldn't slack off either. This kind of thing doesn't just rely on talent and strength, but it also requires a certain destiny. Do your best, said Emonian. Everyone hastily selected a statue for themselves. They were all extremely nervous as well as excited and uneasy. But one disciple placed their hand on a statue's foot. The statue lit up, and a powerful force came from it. The disciple immediately vomited blood and flew back. After that, the statue returned to normal, the light fading. Emonian couldn't help sighing. Failure signified that this statue could not be activated again for the next decade. The statue would enter a sealed state that did not allow its heavenly Dao seed to be touched. That disciple crawled up, ashamed. Junior Gate Master, don't be discouraged. You've already done your best. Everyone, you don't need to force it. Like I said, this doesn't rely just on strength but also destiny. All you can do is try, said Emonian. Continuous bangs rang out one after another, as those disciples were blown back by a powerful force. Emonian's expression became a bit ugly. Emo Yunshan had told them that this group was the strongest one with the best talent within the last century. However, the results were merciless. Another disciple vomited blood and actually directly fainted. Because he hadn't been willing to just give up, he had gone all out, resulting in him taking heavy injuries. Now, other than Long Chen and Emon Yen, the other 8 had failed. The 2 of them were their last hopes. But Long Chen wasn't a member of the Mo family. Emon Yen immediately felt an immense pressure himself. The heavenly Tao seed inside the statue will flood into your body like an open dam when you touch it. That terrifying impact is something the others were unable to bear, so they failed. But with your strength, you should be able to handle it, said Long Chen. You can feel the energy? Asked Emon Yen. Many of them had been blown back by some force, but they were unable to even tell what that force was from. However, Long Chen was able to sense it slightly. Isn't that just a waste of breath? These things contain the will of the heavenly Taos. How could I not sense them? These are the things I hate the most. Go on, relax. It won't be any problem for you. At worst, you'll just spit out some saliva, joked Long Chen. Don't joke. Those statues have my ancestors' energy within them. How could I spit on them? But no matter what, I have to try it. Emon Yen clenched his teeth. Taking a deep breath, he placed his hand on the statue's foot. What alarmed everyone was that Emon Yen immediately vomited a mouthful of blood. Chapter 563. Junior Gate Master. Mo Gate's disciples all cried out in shock. At the same time, their hearts turned cold. If even Emon Yen failed, then there really was no hope. Don't worry. He succeeded, said Long Chen. Although Emon Yen had vomited a mouthful of blood, his hand was still pressed against the statue. Long Chen could sense a strange energy crazily pouring into his body. It was the first wave of the inheritance that was the most difficult to receive. But if you could endure it, then everything after it would be much easier. Now Mo Gate's disciples were filled with wild ecstasy. Emon Yen hadn't been blown back. That signified that he had passed the test of the statue and could receive the inheritance. You guys should protect him. But don't disturb him, because this process requires some time, said Long Chen. Yes. They hastily spread out around him, not daring to make any further noise. They were worried that even the sound of their breathing might impact Emon Yen. Seeing that Emon Yen was still completely steady, Long Chen turned to the last statue. He couldn't help feeling a bit helpless inside. After hesitating for a moment, he still decided to place his hand on the statue. Boom! A fierce energy surged into him. His clothes and hair blew back, and his body shook slightly. That made the others' jaws drop. Long Chen resisted the impact just like that? That was a bit too terrifying, right? That impact was extremely powerful. It possessed exceptionally harsh requirements for the physical body. But Mo Gate's core technique focused on offense, not defense, so their weak point was their physical body. These statues' trial was to test the Mo family's disciples' weak point. If they were able to endure that impact, then that meant they were geniuses amongst geniuses. But if they were unable to endure it, then all that could be said was that they weren't talented enough, and there was no need for them to waste their ancestors' sweat and blood. Long Chen felt a vast energy pouring into his body. It was like a bottomless ocean of energy. He couldn't help feeling apprehensive. This ancestor of the Mo family had left behind their heavenly Tao seed here. The will of heaven and earth was contained within it. Even Long Chen didn't know what would happen. But now that things had reached this point, he could only take things step by step. If he could refine this heavenly Tao seed, he would also become a celestial. Then he would no longer be expelled by the heavens. That would be extremely beneficial to him. Boom! An incense stick's time later, all the energy within the statue had poured into his body, slowly condensing inside him. The energy was continuously compressing, like an ocean trying to compress itself into a pool. As that energy compressed, countless runes began to appear. But even after those runes appeared, the energy continued to compress. In the end, it condensed into a seed formed from countless, tiny runes. The instant that seed condensed, boundless pressure erupted, and it began to attack Long Chen's body. Long Chen's body also began to expel this seed. The Feng Fu and Alioth stars began to automatically circulate to fight against it. Fuck, I just knew it wouldn't go smoothly. Once that seed condensed, Long Chen saw that it simply refused to acknowledge him. It almost felt like a bride who had brushed away her veil to see that her groom was ugly and immediately turned hostile. It began to wreak havoc in his body. Since you've come, then don't think about leaving. Long Chen clenched his teeth and circulated his spiritual qi in an attempt to refine this seed. He was intending on refining it the same way he had refined the Thunder Force back then. But he found that no matter how he tried, he was unable to erase its will. It was still crazily rebelling. But just at this moment, the primal chaos bead trembled, and the seed immediately became calm. Long Chen was delighted and was just about to try and refine it when the seed began to float towards the primal chaos space's black soil. Fuck, don't do this. Don't devour the heavenly Tao seed. Long Chen hastily pulled it back. It would be far too wasteful for the black soil to devour this seed. But as soon as he pulled the seed out of the primal chaos space, it once more began to crazily rebel, refusing to allow him to refine it. With Long Chen's strength, it was impossible to refine this seed. Right now, he had only two choices. One was to allow the primal chaos space to devour it, which would fill the space with a huge amount of life energy. But that was far too wasteful. Long Chen was unwilling to do that. He hastily turned to look at Emon Yen. Runes were revolving around his body now. He had already received his seed's approval. Without even thinking about, Long Chen placed his palm on Emon Yen's back. Haha, I, Emon Yen, have finally managed to become a grand celestial. Emon Yen had only just opened his eyes, his expression one of wild delight, when a powerful energy poured into his body and he instantly vomited a mouthful of blood. Long Chen, what are you doing? The Mo family's disciples were all furious that Long Chen would actually sneak attack Emon Yen, and they were just about to attack him. Everyone, fall back, shouted Emon Yen. He then looked at Long Chen. You. Don't waste time and just refine it. Long Chen was inserting the seed into Emon Yen's body. Emon Yen instantly understood Long Chen's meaning, and his eyes turned red. He was actually giving his Tao seed to him. He wanted to refuse, but Long Chen didn't give him any chance. Using the most straightforward method, he directly inserted the seed into his body. Emon Yen took a deep breath. He knew now wasn't the time to be argumentative. This seed was something his ancestor had left behind, and it had a kind of special familiarity to his blood. Even before he refined it, it began to merge into his body. Seeing that, Long Chen felt a twinge of envy. This was definitely bullying. The difference between people was too great. In his hands, that Tao seed would rather die than submit. But in Emon Yen's body, it seemed to be perfectly happy to be refined. Suddenly, space trembled and Emon Yen's aura explosively grew. Countless runes filled the air, forming a sea of runes. Furthermore, there were two illusory figures within this sea of runes. They appeared behind Emon Yen's body, emitting boundless pressure. The Mo family's disciples all dropped to the floor and knelt. They felt a bloodline suppression as well as a reverence from the depths of their souls. They looked up at Emon Yen with ecstasy. Emon Yen's ancestral mark had appeared on his forehead again. But now, that mark was no longer its original red color. A faint gold shade had appeared within it. The sea of runes and the illusory figures faded. That terrifying pressure also dissipated. Only then could they sigh with relief. Emon Yen slowly opened his eyes. In that instant, another kind of majesty appeared in them. Feeling the boundless energy within his body as well as the favoritism the heavenly Taos were giving him, Emon Yen was so excited that he felt an urge to cry. Long Chen. No need for nonsense. The main point was that I couldn't refine that Tao seed, or I also wouldn't have just given it to you. Let's go and let your old man be happy for a bit. Long Chen laughed. All right. Emon Yen nodded. He didn't believe Long Chen, so he remembered this favor in his heart. The huge stone door opened. What Long Chen and the others hadn't expected was that all the higher-ups of the Mo family were standing outside. These usually carefree experts were now nervously staring at them. Nian, you actually succeeded. Mo Yi's old face was filled with emotion. He could sense the will of the heavenly Daos from Mo Nian. He crazily laughed, shaking everyone's eardrums. Ah, my Mo family finally has a qualified successor. Mo Yunshan was also immensely joyful. Although they had guessed Mo Nian would have a 50% chance of succeeding, no one could be sure about something like this. So all of them had been nervously waiting here, waiting for the stone gate to open. And Mo Nian really hadn't let them down. Good job, Nian. Oh, Long Chen failed? How regretful. But child, you don't need to be dejected. Only now did Mo Yunshan realize there was no will of the heavenly Daos on Long Chen's body, so he hastily comforted him. Dad, Long Chen gave his heavenly Dao seed to me, said a red-eyed Mo Nian. What? Mo Yi and the others were all shocked. So Long Chen had actually obtained the heavenly Dao seed but hadn't refined it for himself, instead giving it to Mo Nian. It had to be known that Long Chen's actions were equivalent to ruining his own future prospects to benefit Mo Nian. Long Chen, how could you be so foolish? Mo Yi looked at Long Chen both emotionally as well as helplessly. In truth it wasn't anything big. That heavenly Dao seed was something I couldn't refine. Rather than just wasting it, it was better for me to give it to Mo Nian. That way, Mo Nian can get stronger and get some more wives and concubines, allowing the Mo family to spread its branches. Wouldn't that be better? Laughed Long Chen. The Mo family experts all felt profound gratefulness towards Long Chen. To give up the chance to become a celestial for someone else was something not everyone could do. Old man, just wait. Once I refine 2 heavenly Dao seeds, I'll quickly be able to challenge you, Mo Nian laughed sinisterly at his grandfather, his voice filled with pride. Ah, brat, you have guts. Don't think that just because you've refined 2, wait, what? Mo Yi's expression suddenly changed. That's right too. Because other than the seed Long Chen gave me, I also obtained one of my own. Old man, now do you feel the pressure? Mo Nian fiercely raised his eyebrows. Quick, bring out your heavenly Dao manifestation for me to see. Mo Yi immediately grabbed Mo Nian and urged him eagerly. When everyone saw Mo Nian's cry of the heavenly Daos that had 2 illusory figures within it, all of the Mo family's experts knelt on the ground. The ancestors' blessing. Our Mo family can finally soar. Mo Yi couldn't help but tear up, his voice filled with emotion. Grandfather, this was Mo Nian's first time seeing Mo Yi like this, and he almost jumped in shock. Your grandfather is just too excited today. Our Mo family will finally soar because of you. Good child, come, let's have a proper celebration. The fact that Mo Nian had become a celestial caused all of Mo Gate to become ecstatic. As for Long Chen, he became the closest person to Mo Gate. They celebrated for a full 3 days and nights. Mo Gate's men and women, young and old, went wild with joy without any regard to seniority. It was extremely lively. But on the 4th day, Long Chen and Mo Nian received an invitation from the Mushue mercenary unit, asking them to go drink at the Immortal Intoxication Pavilion. Chapter 564. Just as Long Chen and Mo Nian's eyes were shining at the thought of going to the Immortal Intoxication Pavilion, a person Long Chen hadn't expected appeared in front of him. That person was the Xiantian Supermonastery's monastery head, Shui Wuhan. Upon seeing her, Mo Nian immediately let out a cry. Wow, what a beautiful woman! Long Chen, when did you seduce such a beauty? Mo Nian, you bastard! Long Chen grabbed Mo Nian's throat and raised him into the air. This bastard was definitely doing this on purpose. Last time, Shui Wuhan had already revealed herself to him in the first monastery. Even though she was in different clothes, there was no way he wouldn't recognize her. To dare attack Mo Gate's junior master inside my Mo Gate, You really are brazen Long Chen. Brat, just wait once I get accustomed to my power, hee hee. Mo Nian vanished like a wisp of smoke. Shui Wuhan shook her head somewhat helplessly. The children these days really do dare do anything. It must be nice to be young. Sister, why have you come here? Asked Long Chen. He knew how busy Shui Wuhan was. Considering that she was in the midst of a power struggle with Zhou Qingyi, how had she run all the way over to Qing Prefecture? Isn't it all because of you? Shui Wuhan glared at him. Only when your people arrived at the super monastery did I learn what happened to you. I immediately wanted to chase after you. But that bitch Zhou Qingyi blocked me, saying she wanted to exchange pointers. Although I injured her in exchange, she ended up stalling me for quite a while. Later, I followed your tracks and caught up to an expert from the Yin family. I did a direct soul search, and only then did I learn you managed to escape and put myself at ease. Many thanks for your concern, sister. Long Chen was moved that Shui Wuhan would care this much for him. I really didn't think your life was this hardy. That Yin Wushang actually personally chased after you, but you still managed to escape, and you had even yet to break through to Meridian Opening. You really are amazing, praised Shui Wuhan. Long Chen bitterly smiled. Is being chased like a dog by someone so amazing? Are you trying to console me? Foolish brat, with a bone-forging cultivation base, you managed to escape from a Meridian Opening celestial. That's already extremely impressive. What exactly did you want to happen? To slaughter Yin Wushang? Said Shui Wuhan. Long Chen realized that the person Shui Wuhan had caught was probably someone who was sent over later, and so they weren't aware of the results of how miserable Yin Wushang's condition had been. Otherwise, it was unknown just how shocked Shui Wuhan would be. Sister, are my brothers safe? Asked Long Chen. They're all very well. I've already set them up in a secret room within the super monastery, and they're focusing on cultivating. Long Chen, I really am becoming unable to see through you. You actually managed to allow over 300 people to undergo complete tempering. Shui Wuhan looked at Long Chen with a complicated expression. When the Dragon Blood Legion had appeared in front of her, she had been completely shocked. 300 Meridian Opening experts who had undergone complete tempering. Just how much money had that cost? Even with the supermonastery's strength, grooming that many complete tempering disciples would take up thousands of years of their savings. It was just a bit of money I got from my cooperation with the Huayan sect. These brothers of mine are my life and death companions who will go through hell and high water with me. What's mine is theirs. Doing at least this much is a must. Back in the first monastery, they were even willing to give up their lives to fight shoulder to shoulder with me. I want to raise them into this world's most terrifying army, said Long Chen. Shui Wuhan looked at Long Chen. She was deeply moved as well as filled with praise. Long Chen was a smart person, but he was also someone who cared deeply about relationships and emotion. Those who treated him well were all remembered by him. Originally, the monastery competition should be occurring next year. Back when Sha Qitian was the first monastery's sect leader, there were still people who wanted to compete with him for the monastery rankings. But now that the Dragon Blood Legion has revealed themselves, all the monasteries have despaired. They directly cancelled this generation's monastery competition. Shui Wuhan smiled bitterly. Long Chen's appearance had thrown many of the supermonastery's rules into chaos. Even if the first monastery didn't have Long Chen present, just any random member from the Dragon Blood Legion could sweep through all the geniuses within the 108 monasteries. The competition was completely unnecessary. Long Chen, I came here to bring you back. Being outside on your own is too dangerous. You're currently being targeted by the Yin family. Furthermore, the Mo family situation is also unstable. Rather than staying here, it's much safer for you to return with me and stay within the super monastery. With me present, no one will be able to threaten you, said Shui Wuhan. Sister, I don't want to return yet. There are still many things for me to do. Furthermore, the Mo family's current situation is at least slightly related to me. I can't just watch at the side. Don't worry, I'm no longer a child. I have the strength to protect myself. It's alright as long as you can help me protect the Dragon Blood Legion and don't let anyone place their sights on them, said Long Chen. Ah, there really is nothing that can be kept from you. Yes, that bitch Zhou Qingyi did report the matter of the Dragon Blood Legion to the Shantiandao sect. Her goal was to bring them away for training. However, by relying on the support of my family, I managed to stop this matter. That bitch actually wanted the Dragon Blood Legion to go temper themselves on the battlefield. Her motives are extremely vicious, said Shui Wuhan hatefully. What battlefield? Long Chen was startled. Could it be that the huge existence known as the Shantiandao sect also had enemies that it often fought? You don't need to ask. Once you reach that level, you'll naturally learn about it. Talking about it now has no meaning. Since you want to stay here, I won't force you. The main reason I came was just because I was worried. But seeing you safe and sound, I'm relieved, said Shui Wuhan. Sister, don't you think the corrupt path sneak attack on the monastery was a bit fishy? How do you see it? Asked Long Chen. It really is a bit fishy. At first, I suspected it was Zhou Qingyi's plan, but it doesn't seem to be like that. If she did that, she wouldn't obtain that much. But if she were exposed, then that would be a huge disaster for her. Furthermore, the one to benefit the most from this matter was the Yin family, because their target is only you. However, the ancient families stand on the same side as the righteous path. They shouldn't dare to collude with the corrupt path. If they ended up exposed, the Yin family would be doomed. So this matter really is extremely odd. There are too many coincidences for it to be natural. I'll definitely investigate it further, promised Shui Wuhan. Long Chen nodded. He temporarily set this matter aside. After saying a few more words, Shui Wuhan left. She still had to pay her respects to Moe, or that would be too rude. Long Chen thought about it and decided to go find Mo Nian. In the end, he couldn't find him, and so he asked for a map of Qingzhou City from a Mo family disciple. Following the map, he found Qingzhou City's Huayan auction house. When he arrived and saw the building in front of him, he halted in awe. The grand and luxurious style was extremely shocking. It was a cylindrical building, one with a diameter of several miles. The entrance had magical beast cores embedded into it. Those special cores continuously flashed with different colors, dazzling passerby. Just the Huayun Pavilion in the Phoenix Cry Empire had appeared incredibly lavish to Long Chen back then. But now compared to this auction house, it was absolutely nothing. Greetings, sir. Long Chen had only just walked into the entrance when two pretty maidens courteously bowed towards him. Does sir need anything? Asked one of the maidens. Long Chen smiled slightly. I want to see the person in charge of this place. I have some business to discuss with them. The two maidens were surprised. They didn't expect this youngster to immediately ask to see their boss. Those who could be placed in charge of an auction house of this scale were not ordinary figures. Not anyone could see them. Can I ask for sir's name so I can report it to my superior? I don't know if the boss is present, asked one of them. Her words were very calculated. She had him say his name first. Once she reported it, if the boss didn't want to see him, she would just say the boss wasn't present. Long Chen laughed. Just tell them that Long Chen has come. If they don't know me, then say I am Zheng Wenlong's friend. The two maidens didn't react to Long Chen's name, but when he reported Zheng Wenlong's name, the two of their expressions finally changed. They hastily brought Long Chen into a large hall and found a place for him to sit. One of them poured tea for him while the other ran off to report his arrival. The one pouring the tea stealthily appraised Long Chen with curiosity. But she also didn't dare look at him directly. Long Chen raised his teacup and lightly sipped it. It was surprisingly an extremely expensive tea. Just one cup of it would require several gold coins. That would be a year's worth of expenses to a common family in the Phoenix Cry Empire. It seems Zheng Wenlong is quite famous in your Huayan sect. Long Chen was bored, so he spoke to the maiden. For some unknown reason, that maiden lost her previous natural and refined mannerisms, her face becoming slightly red. Senior apprentice brother Zheng is the idol of our Huayun sect's junior generation. He's created many miracles on his journey before reaching his current position. This year, in just a few months' time, senior apprentice brother Zheng broke a dozen market sale records, becoming the Huayun sect's most famous junior member. We all worship him. A trace of adoration appeared in her eyes. Long Chen couldn't help but smile. It seemed Zheng Wenlong was not just a martial genius but also a business genius. He had found his life's arena to compete in. Within an arena like the Huayun sect, he could shine with his greatest light. The business Tao was also a grand Tao that was a never-ending path. However, those records he broke should be because of the bone-tempering pills formula. The appearance of the bone-tempering pills had managed to increase the Huayun sect's reputation, and if Zheng Wenlong didn't know how to take advantage of that, then he wouldn't be Zheng Wenlong. "Little sister, how old are you?" asked Long Chen suddenly. The maiden blushed, lowering her head and whispering, 15. Long Chen couldn't help feeling this was comical. He was about to continue asking her a few questions when a flirtatious voice rang out. "Long Chen, I never thought that you liked playing around with women like this. However, she's still too young. Why don't you let this much more mature big sister take her place?" Chapter 565 Peak Grade Brother and Sister. That voice was slightly familiar. Long Chen hastily turned back to see a woman wearing robes that did nothing to hide the immense mountains and deep valley on her chest. That woman looked at Long Chen with an extremely moving flirtatious gaze, along with a smile that was not really a smile. "It's you?" Long Chen's jaw dropped. This woman was precisely the previous master auctioneer from the Phoenix Cry Empire's Huayun Pavilion, the enchanting Yao Niqian. After 2 years, her face hadn't changed in the slightest. However, her body had become even more well-rounded. Seeing her again after all this time made Long Chen feel a bit nostalgic. He recalled the auction that had occurred in the Phoenix Cry Empire. The scenes of him competing against Marquis Ying and the others appeared in his mind. "Ah, so you actually remember me. I really must be fortunate." Back then, Yao Niqian had tried to pull Long Chen into the Huayun sect. However, he had ignored her enticements, causing her to feel like she had lost face. Now, seeing each other after 2 years had passed, she truly was happy. Miss Yao is peerlessly enchanting. Other than someone who has gone senile with age, it would be impossible for anyone to forget your appearance in their lifetime, laughed Long Chen. His words caused Yao Niqian to laugh too. That laughter caused 2 mountains to tremble and create immense waves. Just seeing such a thing would make a person dizzy. She was truly an enchanting seductress. Her charm and allure made him think of another person. Yu Shaoqian was also extremely charming and alluring. However, her beauty was something hidden within her bones, and completely different from how Yao Niqian displayed it for all to see. Yu Shaoqian's beauty could shake a person to their core. Even if a person knew it was dangerous, they wouldn't be able to resist her. It was like a single gaze from her could make a person be willing to kill themselves for her. "Long Chen, you really are an attractive person. I hear you're currently extremely amazing, a big figure whose name can shake the 7 prefectures," laughed Yao Niqian. "No matter how big I get, I can't get as big sister. You are this prefecture's auction house's big boss. It really is worth celebrating." When he said big, he stealthily glanced at her chest, believing what he said to be the absolute truth. "Hee, Long Chen, looks like you've also grown up a bit," laughed Yao Niqian. His stealthy peak was unable to conceal itself from her. However, Long Chen's skin was extremely thick, and he laughed mischievously. "I'm not actually the boss here. Here, let me introduce you, this is the boss, my big brother." Yao Niqian pointed towards a man in his late 20s standing beside her. Now Long Chen was really speechless. Was it because this big beauty had blocked his line of sight, or was it that this brother of hers simply had no presence? Even after talking for this long, he hadn't noticed that someone else had been beside Yao Niqian. "Hello, Long Chen. I've long since been looking forward to meeting you. I am Yao Niming," said the man. "Sorry, you said your name was?" Long Chen thought he had misheard. "Yao Niming," the man repeated. Now that Long Chen had heard it clearly, he had an urge to prostrate himself in admiration towards this brother and sister's parents. This was truly vicious. They named the daughter, "Give me your money," while they named the son even more directly, "Give me your life." This brother and sister were practically a pair of fiendish stars that would take people's money and lives. "Ha, it's definitely an honor to meet you." Long Chen could only fake a laugh. "Let's go. This large hall isn't suitable for talking." Yao Niming selected a private room for the three of them to sit. Long Chen got straight to the point. "I came here because I have two things I'd like to ask for your assistance with. One is that I need some medicinal ingredients I want you to gather for me. This is very urgent, and whether you have it yourselves or they're in other people's hands, as long as there's a price, help me buy them. The other matter is that I need to see Jing Wenlong to talk about a few things. These matters are both important, so I'll entrust them to you too." He then handed a sheet toward them. "For now, I'll be staying at Mo Gate and I won't be leaving in the short term. If you have any news, I'd ask you to immediately inform me." These two matters were extremely important to Long Chen, especially those medicinal ingredients. Those were the things he needed the most, as they were the ones needed for the life Fate Star. After handling this matter, Long Chen said goodbye to this brother and sister from the Yao family. Seeing that it was already afternoon, Long Chen hastily returned to Mo Gate. As expected, Mo Nian had already started to grow impatient. "Brat, where did you run off to? Don't you know we have something important to do?" Long Chen disdainfully glared at him. "Is strolling through a brothel really something important?" "Fuck, you absolutely can't say such a thing in the Immortal Intoxication Pavilion. They'll definitely throw you out, and even I can't protect you. In fact, I'd probably be thrown out with you," cried Mo Nian hastily. "What kind of situation is that? They'd even throw you out?" Long Chen was startled. That Immortal Intoxication Pavilion isn't some brothel of prostitutes. It's a place to listen to music and cultivate your mind. Furthermore, the background of the Immortal Intoxication Pavilion is very frightening. Even I don't know the specifics. In any case, my old man severely warned me not to cause any trouble at the Immortal Intoxication Pavilion, said Mo Nian. "Listen to music? There are no other items on the program? Then isn't that a bit boring?" asked Long Chen. "Hee, the Immortal Intoxication Pavilion is the place to listen to music. But the Immortal Intoxication Building isn't. There are a lot of pretty girls who will accompany you." A wretched expression appeared on Mo Nian's face. That meaning was evident. "Now you've confused me. Aren't the Immortal Intoxication Pavilion and the Immortal Intoxication Building the same place?" The building refers to the whole building, but the pavilion is the top floor of the building. The difference between the two of them is immense. The Immortal Intoxication Pavilion has master musicians whose musical skills are incredibly profound. It's not just music, it has reached the realm of the music Dao. Well, you wouldn't understand even if I said those things. Let's talk more about the Immortal Intoxication Building. There, you can eat and drink as much as you want, and there will be places where you can get some girls to accompany you. However, it'll cost a bit more. Furthermore, if you want a girl to accompany you, it's not as simple as paying some money. They have to have a favorable opinion of you, or they won't accompany you to discuss the Tao while you eat. Just talking about the Immortal Intoxication Building made Mo Nian's heart itch. How curious. Just which party is the guest? Long Chen was a bit speechless. It was the girls who decided who they went with. Hee, you just don't understand? This Immortal Intoxication Building isn't somewhere just anyone can enter. The first requirement is that you have to reach at least the bone forging realm. Furthermore, you must have extraordinary talent and outstanding combat abilities. It's best if you have a specialized skill in some area. That way you'll have something to say when discussing the Tao with those beauties. If your strength is too low and you have no eloquence, even if you went, you just have to sit by yourself the entire time, because all of them will ignore you. Think about it. If you went in with a group and all of them had beauties accompanying them, but you were just foolishly sitting there by yourself. How difficult would that have to be? So, anyone who enters the Immortal Intoxication building has to have at least some status. Otherwise, they're people who are spending a great deal of money just to watch. Those people spend money just to get in on the fun, laughed Emon Yen. Long Chen now realized that his brothers from the Mushue mercenary unit were most likely only going to watch the fun. Just that would raise their status. After all, mercenaries were considered the lowest rung of society. In truth, they all wished to climb to a higher level. Hurry up and change into some more elegant clothes. Emon Yen randomly threw out a pile of clothes for him to choose from. There were all sorts of colors and designs. They were all made of the best kind of materials. Emon Yen was different from Long Chen in that he paid particular attention to his clothes. Their builds were similar, so in the end, Long Chen chose some traditional black robes. Seriously? You're going to wear black at night? Are you thinking of committing murder? Asked Emon Yen upon seeing the color Long Chen had chosen. I like black. Maybe because it doesn't get dirty so easily, so it's more comfortable. Long Chen ignored Emon Yen's criticism and put it on. You know, you really are suited to wearing black. It looks quite tough. The outside matches the inside, praised Emon Yen. Wearing the black robes, Long Chen possessed another kind of charisma. Perhaps it was a kind of mysterious sense of danger. The feeling was hard to describe. Are you cursing me for having a black heart? In any case, this was Long Chen's first time wearing such fine material. It was extremely comfortable to wear, and it was also very durable. It wouldn't easily tear even if someone attacked him. After changing clothes, the two of them left Mo Gate. The higher-ups didn't even ask where they were going, simply letting them do whatever they wanted. The Immortal Intoxication building was located on the west side of the city. Long Chen and Emon Yen saw that the sun had only just started falling to the west. By the time they walked to the Immortal Intoxication building, the sky would have darkened and it would coincide with dinner time. Long Chen, once we get to the Immortal Intoxication Pavilion, you should match the kind of eloquence I use. You have to act more refined and elegant. Don't lose face, warned Emon Yen. Long Chen looked at Emon Yen with a somewhat suspicious expression. How come I feel like you're a bit nervous? This couldn't be your first time going, right? What nonsense, how could it be my first time? Raged Emon Yen. But seeing Long Chen's untrusting expression, his confidence faltered and he admitted, in truth, I've gone over 10 times, but it's my first time entering the Immortal Intoxication building. So those times you went you just watched from a distance? Said Long Chen disdainfully. We're both brothers, so stop exposing me. It's not like you don't know about that person. I don't have the confidence. But this time is different. Now I'm a celestial. Although I didn't awaken innately, with the energy you gave me, I definitely won't be any weaker than her. So now I don't need to be afraid of her. I'll go all out, using my actions to prove that I, Emon Yen, am rising. Emon Yen clenched his fists. Eating with female entertainers counts as rising? How amazing! Long Chen raised his thumb in praise. Are you even my brother? Why do you have to keep undermining me? This is just my first step. My next step will be to... Don't think about your next step for now. It's not like you can beat your fiancée yet. Aren't you afraid she'll come to give you a beating? Asked Long Chen. Although Emon Yen had absorbed 2 heavenly Dao seeds, he was still in the process of merging with them. He would need some time before being able to use the strength of a celestial. What would I be afraid of? The power is within me and can't run away. Furthermore, she's not present for the next few days. If I didn't take advantage of this opportunity to live freely, that would be too wasteful. We've arrived. Emon Yen suddenly stopped. At some point, the sky had already darkened, and a brightly lit building appeared in front of them. Chapter 566 Mysterious Paintings. This towering building soared high into the sky. It was brightly lit, like a lantern in the night. Inside, there was a man-made lake. Lotus flowers were in full bloom on the lakeside, their fragrance pouring over them. As soon as Long Chen and Emon Yen had arrived, a pretty, green-robed maiden received them. "Do you two have an appointment?" "Ninth floor, first-rank heaven table," said Long Chen. That was what had been written on the invitation card Mu Shui had sent. "Follow me." The maiden bowed slightly and began to lead Long Chen and Emon Yen. This gave Long Chen an extremely odd feeling. It seemed they didn't get much of a differential treatment here. This maiden hadn't smiled once for them. Passing by the small lake, a long corridor appeared in front of them. The ceiling of the corridor had been painted over, depicting all kinds of women. They were all playing musical instruments such as the zither or flute. Their bearings were all different, but they were vivid and lifelike. This one corridor was very long, stretching several miles. There were thousands of paintings on the ceiling, and each one depicted a different woman. "Oh!" Long Chen suddenly paused, looking at one particular painting. That painting depicted a woman standing proudly high in the clouds, her jade hands playing the zither. Her long black hair seemed to flutter, and she seemed just like a fairy. "What is it, Long Chen?" Emon Yen followed Long Chen's gaze, but all he saw was an ordinary painting. "This woman possesses a terrifying killing intent." Long Chen was staring into the woman's eyes, slightly bewildered. "Killing intent? What are you talking about? I don't see anything. Don't bother acting profound here. If you want to act, wait until we get inside. There's no one to see your acting here." Emon Yen thought Long Chen was doing this intentionally and started to pull him away. "Wait a moment. I want to look at it a bit longer." Long Chen stared deeply into that woman's eyes. He could sense an extremely profound killing intent that was exceptionally icy. On the outside, that woman didn't seem to have an expression. She seemed calm, looking like she was just playing the zither normally. But Long Chen could sense her intense killing intent. He vainly tried to see something more. Even after a long time, he was unable to sense anything else other than killing intent. It seemed as if it was just an ordinary painting. "Let's go. Don't make everyone wait." Emon Yen pulled on Long Chen, forcibly pulling him away. The two of them didn't notice that when Long Chen said there was strong killing intent in the painting, the green-robed maiden leading them had shaken ever so slightly, an expression of disbelief flashing over her eyes. However, her back was facing them, so they didn't notice. "Just walk up 9 flights and you'll be there." When they reached the end of the corridor, the maiden waved her hand, her meaning that the two of them could walk on their own. Then she left. Long Chen and Emon Yen looked at each other. This immortal intoxication building's treatment of its guests was truly lacking. They only led them halfway to their seats before leaving. They supposed that they were truly gaining experience of the world today. The two of them reached the first floor of the main building and saw that there wasn't a single person. On the second floor, there was also no one. On the third floor, it was still incredibly quiet, not a single person present. Long Chen laughed. "This is definitely on the same level as your cloudless sky." "Fool, if you don't know anything, then don't speak. These 3 floors don't have guests because there aren't any girls to accompany you. Furthermore, the price is not discounted at all. Who would come here to eat? The cheapest table here costs over 10,000 spirit stones. And that's just these 3 lowest floors. For the 4th to 6th floors, the cheapest table costs 50,000 spirit stones. As for the 9th floor, it costs at least several 100,000 spirit stones. The first-rank heaven table Mu Shui has ordered is the most expensive table on that floor, and it probably costs several million spirit stones," said Emon Yen. "What? How is it that expensive? Then I think I'll just not go. Tell Mu Shui to give me the money she would save from not having me eat." "My heart won't be able to bear the cost," joked Long Chen. "Tisih, isn't it just a few million spirit stones? It's not like I need her to pay the bill. Brother will treat you." Emon Yen patted himself on the chest, his meaning that his chest was bulging and that his purse was also bulging. Long Chen had only been joking anyway. After killing Luo Zhongxing, the Xiantian experts, and robbing the Ironblood mercenary unit, Long Chen was certain Mu Shui was definitely a wealthy woman now. On the fourth floor, guests started to appear. Over half this large floor was occupied. Long Chen swept his gaze over it and noticed an extremely odd thing. He saw an empty space beside almost every one of these guests. He then suddenly realized that those should be prepared for the immortal intoxication building's ladies. Sweeping his gaze over the floor, he found a few ladies sitting in those spots, chatting with whom they sat beside. However, the thing that amazed him was that those men didn't seem at all excited. In fact, they seemed to be sitting on pins and needles, and some were even sweating. Long Chen couldn't help laughing. Just what kind of game was this? You had to pay money to torment yourself? His laughter immediately drew everyone's furious glares. The majority of the people here had no one to accompany them. They thought Long Chen's laughter was a jeer at them, so naturally they became furious. However, none of them said anything. Sorry, please continue. Long Chen hastily apologized and rushed onto the next floor. On the fifth floor, there were slightly more people and there were also more ladies. However, compared to the number of guests, they were still very few. As for the guests with no one beside them, they were quietly enjoying the fine wine. Just looking at that made Long Chen want to laugh. If the ladies didn't want you, then even if you waited until the sky brightened again, would it have any use? They had essentially paid money just to be ignored. That really was an incredibly high realm of stupidity. Continuing higher, Long Chen noticed that the people on the higher floors had higher cultivation bases. By the time they reached the 8th floor, he noticed several late meridian opening experts. Furthermore, those people were all young and had definitely not surpassed 25 years of age. There were also many more ladies here. However, the people those ladies sat next to were all rigid and solemn. Let alone getting a touch, they didn't even dare to look at them. Once they arrived on the 9th floor, they immediately saw Mu Shui waving to them in the distance. "Ha, a leader Mu Shui, it's been a while," called out Long Chen. However, this caused countless disdainful gazes to fall on him. But when those people saw Mo Nian by his side, they were shocked, obviously recognizing him. "Long Chen, you can't shout in here." Mu Shui quickly ran over and whispered. "But I didn't shout. It was just an ordinary greeting." Long Chen felt a bit wronged. That's also not good enough. When you talk here, you have to do it quietly. Mu Shui brought them over to her table. Every member of the Mu Shui mercenary unit was already waiting for them. When Long Chen and Mo Nian passed by a table, one of the people there glared at Long Chen and sneered, "Where did this fool who doesn't know the rules come from? Uncouth to the peak." Long Chen was completely infuriated. Today, he had repeatedly run into these garbage rules. Since when did eating a meal require so many rules? He coldly snorted towards this person's provocation. Where did such a dog-like person come from? Do people think that if a country bumpkin changes its shell, it wouldn't be a bastard? After waiting for so long, you see no one bothers with you, so you take your anger out on others? If I were such a person, I would have long since thrown my head into that bowl of soup and drowned myself. "You!" That person stood up in fury. Long Chen didn't give that person a second glance and continued forward. Mo Nian couldn't help smiling bitterly. Long Chen's temper had immediately offended the majority of people here. That was because most people didn't have anyone accompanying them. Anyone who could come here possessed an illustrious status and strength. They all had their own honor, and Long Chen's words were a slap in the face. However, Long Chen hadn't named anyone, so they couldn't say anything. Otherwise, that would be saying they were the kind of person Long Chen had cursed, and that would be even more embarrassing. Their first-rank heaven table was semi-private. Several beautiful screens veiled them from the rest of the room. That made it appear even more prominent and dignified. Furthermore, this table was next to the window, and it was possible to look over Qingzhou City's nightscape. From behind the screens, as long as you didn't shout, you wouldn't affect anyone else in the room. "Long Chen, hee, we finally meet again." Zhang Wu looked at Long Chen with excitement. When Long Chen had blocked a Xiantian weapon's full-strength attack, That shocking majesty had made him appear like a god, and it had completely shaken all of them. These men now thought of Long Chen as a hero, so they were incomparably excited upon seeing him arrive. "It's been a while, brothers." Long Chen cupped his fists towards them. Long Chen also very much liked this group of straightforward men. However, he complained, "Leader Mu Shui, why did you have to choose this kind of place to invite me to a meal? It's so irritating." Long Chen would rather set up a few tables outside the city. Then they could eat and drink to their heart's content, letting out their emotions as much as they wanted. That would be truly satisfying. Sitting here with a bunch of idiots, he didn't even have an appetite. Long Chen be happy. This place is Qingzhou City's peak location. There are so many people who want to come, but they can't. "Don't complain," said Emon Yen disdainfully. "We didn't just come here because of you, Long Chen. Everyone just wanted to experience another aspect of the world. Right now, our Mushue mercenary unit is rising within the mercenary world. We came here to make our name resound even louder. I spent 8 million spirit stones for this spot. That kind of financial power is something only we have in the mercenary world. This will be good for getting new recruits." Mu Shui smiled. "You want to expand?" asked Long Chen. "Yes. To maintain our strength, we have to get fresh blood. But don't worry, we'll only accept trustworthy people. We won't take in just anyone," said Mu Shui. That put him much more at ease. Mu Shui was truly a good leader. She handled things meticulously, rarely making any mistakes. As they spoke, some people came over carrying all kinds of delicacies and began to fill the table. When Long Chen saw those delicacies, he no longer grumbled about this place. Those delicacies were truly worthy of their price. Those weren't just fine food, they were tonics and medicines. To be able to turn medicine into something that would make people drool with desire, the Immortal Intoxication Pavilion truly was filled with talent. By the time they finished placing all the precious medicines and rare magical beasts' meat on the table, the delicious smell made Long Chen feel like his saliva was about to overflow. Just as he was preparing to take action, a burst of fragrance blew over. The Mushue mercenary unit's members all became still. Chapter 567. Within a remote private room of the Immortal Intoxication Building, a sandalwood incense burner was burning, filling the room with a faint fragrance. There were 2 people sitting on a prayer mat. One of them was a beautiful woman who appeared to be in her 30s. The other was wearing a bamboo hat and a white veil that covered her face. However, her lithe figure made it obvious she was a woman. The 2 of them were looking at each other. "Pavilion Master, why did you call me over?" asked the veiled woman. Her voice was clear and melodious, almost sounding like music. "Just now, Xiao Lu reported that Long Chen has come to our Immortal Intoxication Building," said the older woman. "It's not odd for him to come here." "Yes, it's not odd. Such a small matter is not worth disturbing you. However, there's something more important. Xiao Lu said that Long Chen formed a resonance with the 9th generation Heavenly Music Divine Emissary." "What?" "The painting of the 9th Divine Emissary formed a resonance with him. When I heard that news, even I didn't believe it. But Xiao Lu said she was absolutely sure. Those paintings in the corridors are of our elusive music Immortal Palace's top experts from the Immortal Era. Now, the splendor from the Immortal Era has already been destroyed. The only complete inheritance we have left is those paintings. Each of those paintings contains the Tao charm of those almighty seniors, all in hopes that our disciples will be able to use our seniors' Tao charm to comprehend their own Taos. However, those paintings in the corridors are not the original paintings. During the process of copying them, 99% of their charm is lost. But Long Chen was still able to form a resonance with the 9th Divine Emissary. It seems Long Chen's temperament must have something in common with her, sighed the Pavilion Master. That really is hard to believe. It's said that the 9th Divine Emissary had an odd life. She possessed an innate heaven-defying divine music that was specialized towards the path of slaughter. She fought her whole life, slaughtering gods and devils. The corpses that fell to her hands piled up like mountains. Her killing intent was so strong that it could make even the sky bleed blood and all things quiver. The 9th-generation divine emissary was also the only person from our elusive music immortal palace who has slaughtered supreme experts from the righteous path. It really is puzzling how Long Chen could form a resonance with her, said the veiled woman. The pavilion master nodded. This Long Chen seems to have a lofty and unyielding character, someone who cares about relationships and emotions. That doesn't make him seem like a bloodthirsty monster, so it is odd. When you and Yu Tong watched Long Chen fight, did you sense anything in particular? The maiden shook her head. He was extremely powerful, his strength comparable to Celestial's. But there is a strange energy within him that isolates him from being spied on. My heavenly music arts were unable to sense his true mental state. Perhaps my cultivation level is just too lacking. Your heavenly music arts have already reached the 5th level. Even ordinary sea expansion experts are unable to conceal themselves from your senses. This Long Chen really is odd. Does Pavilion Master have any plans? Asked the maiden. This Long Chen has no relation to us. However, since he could form a resonance with a painting of a divine emissary, that would mean he should have some kind of destiny with our elusive music immortal palace. However, of our 4,948 paintings, he only had a resonance with the 9th divine emissary. I don't dare act blindly. I've already had Yu Tong go probe Long Chen. I'll make a decision after, said the pavilion master. You had Yu Tong go? The maiden was speechless. It seemed that girl was very interested in Long Chen. Long Chen was now incredibly hungry. These delicacies piled before him and the fragrance they emitted possessed a fatal attraction. Just as Long Chen was finally preparing to take action, a burst of fragrance blew over and 3 practically transcendent, azure-robed beauties appeared in front of Long Chen and the others. Emon Yen was delighted upon seeing that, but Long Chen was startled and asked, "It seems we haven't ordered any ladies yet dash." Before he could finish speaking, Emon Yen covered his mouth, seeming to want to choke him to death. Long Chen, you really are a bastard. Did you really take this place to be a brothel? You don't order the women here. Emon Yen was afraid Long Chen would continue offending them, so he refused to release him. The Mushue mercenary unit's members forgot their hunger and hastily stood up. They had never expected the Immortal Intoxication Pavilion's ladies would honor them with their presence, and furthermore, 3 had come at once. Are you trying to choke me? Long Chen pushed off Emon Yen. That bastard had not only covered his mouth, but also his nose. These 3 women were slender and elegant. They were all outstanding beauties, but most importantly, they possessed a kind of elegance that would make others feel ashamed of their inferiority. Let alone the mercenaries, even Emon Yen felt a bit inferior in the face of these 3 women. The 3 of them were like flawless jade. They were pure and holy. In front of them, no matter how prideful the person, anyone would feel inferior. That kind of formless quality was something no one dared to blaspheme. Can we sit here? Asked one of them, gracefully bowing. Yes, of course. Please. Emon Yen was bewildered, not knowing what to do. Even his voice stuttered. Then we'll trouble you. That woman smiled slightly. That natural and simple action was extremely pleasing to look at. The 3 of them sat in different places. One of them sat beside Mu Shui, causing her to feel overwhelmed. Another sat beside Emon Yen, while the one who had spoken, the most beautiful of them all, sat beside Long Chen. Their arrival caused the atmosphere to become a bit unnatural. All the mercenaries were now uncomfortable as they sat, twitching, not knowing what to do. No matter where they placed their arms, they felt odd. They had an urge to quickly leave. They felt like just sitting with such sacred and grand women was a blasphemy. At the same time, they also felt a profound self-inferiority. Hello. I am Yu Tong, greeted the woman beside Long Chen courteously. Long Chen gulped down his saliva, his voice a bit unclear. Hello, I'm Long Chen. I'm sorry, but I really am hungry. You guys can chat amongst yourselves. And please, go ahead and eat if you want. We won't make you pay. Long Chen waved his chopsticks, his meaning that they could pick from whatever food they wanted from the table. Emon Yen's face immediately darkened. Long Chen's actions were too rude, making him feel disgraced. He was afraid they would leave in fury. It had to be known that these ladies here were not female entertainers who accompanied people as they ate and drank. They only came to people they thought highly of. Long Chen's attitude made it seem like they were coming for food. Outside of the screens, countless red eyes were glaring towards them. Those eyes were filled with envy. Their table had become the focal point of the whole room. Long Chen's actions caused that woman to laugh. Her laughter was extremely beautiful, causing people to feel very comfortable. Mr. Long Chen, you really possess an interesting character. Handling things magnanimously without bothering about trifling matters makes a broad-hearted man of character. Yutong smiled. Flattery, flattery. If you want to choose a husband, someone like me is really the top choice. Miss Yutong, your vision is really amazing. Long Chen gave Yutong a thumbs up. Shameless, too shameless. He had actually twisted her words to make himself sound amazing. Emon Yen was speechless. Yutong hadn't expected Long Chen to be so shameless, and her face turned slightly red, a trace of anger flashing within her eyes. She had never run into someone like this. Such a coarse person was actually able to enter the immortal intoxication pavilion? What an insult to high-class people like us. Outside the screens, someone finally couldn't endure it anymore. Correct. They're just a bunch of peasants who are trying to pose as cultured people by coming here. Did they think obtaining a bit of dirty money made them amazing? Maybe they should consider their own status first, agreed another person. Although their voices weren't loud, this hall contained only a few people, and it was extremely quiet. Their words were heard clearly. The mercenaries' expressions sank. Those people's words had touched on one of their nerves. Mercenaries always had a degenerate status. There was no place for them in the cultivation world. Being ridiculed by these people made them furious. However, they were also embarrassed, unable to say anything back. Emon Yen's expression also sank. These people were too much. They hadn't even given him face. Insulting Long Chen was also insulting him. He was just about to say something when Long Chen opened his mouth first. His seat was on the edge of the table, and he could see through an opening in the screens to see the two people who had just spoken. What is high class? What is low class? Does spending your family's money to come to eat here make you high class? Does relying on your own strength to obtain money to spend here make you low class? Being envious of others and putting on airs ostentatiously makes you high class? Us acting open and candid, magnanimously saying what we want, makes us low class. What kind of act do you think you're putting on? Even if you spray perfume all over yourself, it won't conceal the stench of scum coming from you. The ones trying to pose as cultured people here are you. You fundamentally don't understand what high class is. Let me tell you, high class is not faked. It's the act of playboys like yourselves that is faked, said Long Chen. Only now did Long Chen understand why these idiots had come here to act like refined scum. It was all to get these ladies' favor. The ladies here all possessed a natural high-class Dao charm. That kind of charm was very peculiar, and it made people feel inferior. They were the truly high-class ones, while this group of idiots had only come to act like playboys. Now they wanted to laugh at others for being vulgar? They definitely hadn't taken their medicine before leaving the house. The three women couldn't help being amused by Long Chen's cursing, especially his last sentence. Despite knowing they shouldn't, they couldn't stop a chuckle from escaping. They hastily covered their mouths, but it was too late. Bastard! One of the two men stood up and pointed at Long Chen. Brat, I challenge you to a death match. Little Green. When Yutong says, man of character, she says. Long Chen takes part of it, which means husband, so it's like Yutong said he would make a great husband. Chapter 568. Long Chen looked at that person. He had only reached the late meridian opening realm. His aura was condensed, but he was no celestial. Furthermore, he might have shouted for a death match, but there was not the slightest killing intent coming from him. He was clearly just trying to intimidate him. Most likely, he was someone who had gotten used to using his status to suppress others. "Do you recognize this child?" Long Chen asked Emon Yen. "No. I guess that he comes from another prefecture and was drawn here because of its fame. How could I possibly know such a character?" Emon Yen shook his head. "Oh." Long Chen nodded and then continued eating. "Ooh, you coward. I want a death match with you. Do you dare?" Raged that person upon seeing Long Chen give him the cold shoulder. "Forget about it. I'm afraid of you, okay?" Long Chen answered vaguely, too lazy to compete with such a person. With a single glance, it was obvious that this person was a pampered child in his family. He was a greenhouse flower who had never had to suffer. For Long Chen to compete against him was bullying a child. "Oof, count yourself smart." Seeing Long Chen retreat, that person snorted and sat back down, beginning to once more calmly sip his wine. However, this flashy display of his didn't draw any beauties to his side. He could only continue calmly sitting there. After that small disturbance, Emon Yen hastily apologized to the three women. But the three of them were very amiable and were unconcerned. Two of them began to quietly converse with Emon Yen and Mu Shui. Long Chen was surprised to realize that their conversation was about martial arts. They discussed things relating to battle skills, martial arts, and related topics. Only then did Long Chen realize that he really had misjudged this place. One woman was talking with Emon Yen, while the other woman was talking with Mu Shui. Only Yu Tong hadn't said a single word, just watching Long Chen devouring his food. "How about you eat as well?" said Long Chen awkwardly. "It's fine, you can eat first. Once you're full, I have some questions and I'd like to ask for your guidance." Yu Tong smiled slightly. "Then you'll have to wait for a while. I'm very hungry." Long Chen truly was hungry. But at the same time, he also wanted to hear what Emon Yen and Mu Shui were saying. As for the mercenaries, they could only watch. Even though they could eat, they didn't dare to. It was like eating in front of these women was a blasphemy. Listening to Emon Yen's discussion, Long Chen was startled that although these women's cultivation bases weren't apparent, their comprehension of the martial Tao was frighteningly high. That woman asked Emon Yen several questions, and Emon Yen also asked her several questions pertaining to cultivation and how to handle bottlenecks. That woman demonstrated an extremely high level of understanding, and some of her methods were so incredible that it would make a person slap the table and shout with praise. Long Chen finally understood why those men whom these women sat next to would seem like they were sitting on pins and needles. These women asked very profound questions. If you replied wrongly, they would leave you. Their conversation was very fair. They would ask one question, and then they would answer one question. However, Mu Shui only exchanged 3 questions with her woman when the woman stopped asking any questions. Mu Shui was slightly ashamed. She had been unable to reply to that woman's question. It was evident that their realms were not on the same level. But Emon Yen did have some skills. He conversed for a long time with his woman. It seemed he gained great benefits from this trip. However, the two of them only talked for 2 incense sticks worth of time before that woman paused and looked at Long Chen. With everyone looking at him, Long Chen didn't have the nerve to keep eating. Rubbing his mouth, he expressed that he had finished eating. But before Yu Tong could ask him a question, he bashfully asked, "Miss Yu Tong, is it all right if I ask you a question first?" "Of course." Yu Tong smiled. "Do you like me?" asked Long Chen uneasily. Everyone was struck dumb. Emon Yen glared at Long Chen. Wasn't this a bit too vicious? How could he be so direct? Yu Tong was also startled. She shook her head. "No." Then I can teach you." In truth, liking a person is very simple. Long Chen's eyes lit up. "Long Chen, how can you be so shameless?" Even Emon Yen was unable to bear it, and he almost coughed up blood. "Isn't this just a joke? Don't take it so seriously. The main thing was that the atmosphere was just too tense. Longchen laughed. Yu Tong was somewhat speechless, shaking her head. Mr. Longchen really is different from others. However, there's really no need for everyone to be like that. We're all cultivators, and on the cultivation path, we are all a bunch of children. There are no such things as high class and low class. Her words were received very gratefully by the mercenaries, as that was a recognition and comfort to them. In her eyes, everyone was the same. What did it mean to be high class? It meant possessing a noble character and having high personal accomplishments. Being high class didn't mean discriminating and trampling over others in order to find a meaning for your own existence. As for those people outside, they fundamentally didn't know what it meant to be high class. It was just like Longchen said, they were just a bunch of acting playboys. Miss Yu Tong, let me offer you a cup. Your magnanimity is truly admirable. This was Longchen's first time having a favorable opinion of these women. He sensed that Yu Tong's words weren't the slightest bit artificial, so she truly viewed everyone equally. Longchen, Emon was about to say that these women didn't drink wine. In respect to Mr. Longchen's admiration, Yu Tong can only accept. Yu Tong smiled and shockingly raised her cup, touching it to Longchen's. This action made Emon dumbfounded. And it wasn't just Emon. Everyone was flabbergasted. The Immortal Intoxication Building's ladies never drank wine. But Yu Tong had made an exception for Longchen. Furthermore, Yu Tong was not an ordinary lady. With her looks, other than the Queen Flower, no one could suppress her. She rarely appeared within the Immortal Intoxication Building. But this time, not only had she revealed herself, but she had drunk a cup of wine with someone else. That made everyone feel intensely envious of Longchen. I'm glad Mr. Longchen thought highly enough of Yu Tong to drink a cup. I trust that when you converse with me, you definitely won't hold anything back, said Yu Tong. I got duped. With a single cup of alcohol, Yu Tong made it so that Longchen would have to respond sincerely, or he would become an untrustworthy, petty person. Don't worry, you can ask what you want as long as it doesn't involve my personal secrets. Longchen patted himself on the chest. Longchen also gave himself a way out. Some things had to be kept private. It wasn't as if he could respond if she asked what cultivation technique he trained in. This was self-protection, and it wouldn't count as breaking a promise. Don't worry, we only discussed the Tao. So you don't have to have any misgivings and can argue your point as boldly as you please. Yu Tong seemed to see straight through Longchen's intentions. That made Longchen much more at ease. He thought that Yu Tong would directly ask him a question, but surprisingly she first asked Mu Shui, junior sister Mu Shui, what is the Tao? Mu Shui was startled, not expecting Yu Tong to ask her such a profound question immediately. For a moment, she had no idea what to reply. After thinking about it, she replied, in my opinion, this so-called Tao should be a kind of truth. Or perhaps it is the highest embodiment of a kind of concept. But to the current me, it is too distant. This reply will probably cause you to laugh at me. Mu Shui was somewhat embarrassed. She had cultivated for this long and had already reached the Xiantian realm, but she had never thought of such a profound question, as she had felt that topic to be too far away from her. Miss Mu Shui doesn't need to be modest. We also don't know what the Dai is. That is why we need to search for our own answer within the mundane world. You don't know the answer, but we also don't know. We're all searching for the answer on the same level. There's nothing to laugh at. Yu Tong smiled. Her words were very comforting, and Mu Shui nodded gratefully towards her. The Immortal Intoxication Building's ladies all possessed a high-class charm. But it wasn't the kind of fake high-class act that came from being arrogant. It was extremely comforting, and it made people feel great respect for them. Mr. Emon, what is the Tao? Yu Tong asked Emon the same question. In my opinion, the Tao is a concept when something is taken to the peak, when truth reaches a pinnacle. It is the law of behaviors that encompasses everything within heaven and earth, said Emon. Oh, can you explain it in more detail? Yu Tong's eyes brightened slightly. The word known as the Tao is a set of laws. According to my understanding, the Tao is a kind of truth. This truth contains two sides, which is why the Tao can be split into yin and yang. Everything within this world has two opposing sides. If there is a high, there is a low. If there is an up, there is a down. For example, let us say one side is yin and one side is yang. Then this so-called yang Tao is the hard side of cultivators. When brute strength is taken to the peak, it is so fierce that others are helpless. It is filled with the courage to charge forward despite all obstacles. That is the yang Tao. Now about the yin Tao. The yin Tao is dash. Long Chen was in the midst of drinking when he suddenly spat it out below the table. It was lucky his reaction had been quick enough, or it would have spurted all over the table. Emon immediately realized what he had said and rephrased. This yin side of the Tao is to use soft force. Like the water the wood floats on, the waves of the water can also snap the wood and devour ships. Although it is not an explosive power, its power is still limitless, possessing no beginning and no end. If you have too much yang force, it'll be easy for you to snap. If you have too much yin force, you'll have no sharpness. The two of them are not true strength. True strength is a combination of yin and yang, the two of them complementing and making up for the other's flaws. This is my comprehension of this so-called Tao. In my opinion, nothing is absolute. Whether you reach the pinnacle of yang or the pinnacle of yin, they are both dead paths. Only when the two combine will there be life. The three women couldn't help but clap. Yutong said, Mr. Emon knowledge and experience truly is amazing. It has let me see an even vaster world. I have benefited immensely. You're too kind. I was the one who benefited more. The things I've learned today are enough for me to use for a lifetime, said Emon courteously. Yutong nodded and then solemnly asked, Mr. Emon, what is the King Tao? Long Chen asks her if she likes him like this. This can be taken literally as, do you know how to like me? Yutong replies, as in she doesn't know. When he says the yin Tao, he says, which would sound the same as, meaning penis Tao. Chapter 569. 569. Mr. Emon, what is the King Tao? Long Chen's heart shook slightly. Yutong's words all contained profound meanings that made it difficult for them to reply. As for Mu Shui, she sighed with relief. If Yutong had asked her this, then she really would have been unable to reply. It would have been too embarrassing. The King Tao is the way of the king, a ruler's path. To use wisdom to control strength that does not truly belong to oneself is the King Tao, said Emon. Yutong nodded. Then what is the hegemon Tao? The hegemon Tao? That really is hard to explain. The way of the hegemon in itself is a noun. When used in terms of the martial path, it means to be incomparably domineering, for your haughtiness to soar into the clouds, to rather break than to bend. I don't know whether what I'm saying is correct or not. Emon was lacking confidence this time, as he didn't really understand what Yutong meant. Mr. Emon's reply is very good. In truth, you don't need to worry. Our cultivation path is different from other people's. We rely the most on comprehension. So we will ask many people these kinds of questions. We will also receive all kinds of answers. These answers are all precious to us. I will ask one final question for you. What is the humane Tao? Yutong smiled. Hearing her explanation, Emon was much more at ease. I feel like the humane Tao refers to those scholars who spend their lives teaching and have no enemies. In truth, people's hearts tend to be treacherous. Absolute power infatuates people, and they forget what it means to be humane. Trying to use the humane Tao on a group of evil people is like a rabbit trying to reform a hungry wolf. It's just nonsense. Emon clearly was extremely disdainful towards this humane Tao. Right now, the world was one where only strength was respected. If you blindly believed in this humane Tao, you were just courting death. Many thanks for your pointers, Mr. Emon. Your unique knowledge and experience were greatly beneficial to me. I'm extremely grateful. Yutong surprisingly bowed towards Emonian. Emonian also hastily bowed. Miss Yutong is too courteous. My little learning is nothing. Long Chen is the truly wise one. He'll definitely give you an even more marvelous answer. Seeing Emonian's evil smile, Long Chen had an urge to beat him. This brat really never gave up any chance to set him up. Emonian's reply had already been very similar to Long Chen's viewpoint. Now if Long Chen said something similar, it would be like slapping himself in the face. Emonian had intentionally raised him high into the air so that he would fall from the heavens. This brat was too evil. Oh, Mr. Emonian's opinion is already very similar to my own. Now I really want to hear Mr. Long Chen's unique viewpoint. Yutong looked at Long Chen with anticipation. The other two women also turned to look at him with a hopeful light in their eyes. They were all hoping for a different response than Emonian's now. Originally, I thought I concealed myself enough. However, your all-seeing perception has managed to notice my superiority. Then fine, I can answer junior sister Yutong's questions. Furthermore, I guarantee my answers will be different from anyone else's. However, I have one small request. If my answers truly are different from anyone else's, then junior sister Yutong, could you please let us experience a song from you? Smiled Long Chen. Fuck, this guy's skin really is thick. Emonian cursed inside, but excitement still rose in his heart. He had heard that if one's answers to their questions satisfied them, they would play a song for that lucky guest. Being blessed by a song from the immortal Intoxication Building's ladies was a great honor. It seemed each time they played a song, it would shake all of Qing Prefecture. However, Emonian also was a bit vexed, because his answers might have satisfied them, but it hadn't reached the level where they would play a song for him. It seems Mr. Long Chen is very confident. That's fine. As long as your answers are different from everyone else's, then I can play a song for everyone, promised Yutong. She smiled, but her smile was full of confidence. Obviously, she had posed these questions to countless people. She had received tens of thousands of answers, and many of them were basically the same thing. She didn't believe that Long Chen could truly answer her in a completely different way. If even one of his answers was similar to someone else's, then it wouldn't be worth her playing a song. Countless people looked at Long Chen with ridicule, wanting to see how he would humiliate himself. Then Mr. Long Chen, what is the Tao? This so-called Tao is to take other people's things without them knowing and without telling them. That is stealing, said Long Chen. Now it was Emonian's turn to spit out his wine. Long Chen had actually switched the Tao with stealing. That was absolutely shameless. The three women turned expressionless. This answer was truly unique. That is not the Tao. Yutong shook her head. Stealing is also a Tao, so why can't it be called the Tao? Long Chen smiled. That left people speechless. They didn't know just how they were supposed to argue. Long Chen was clearly misrepresenting right and wrong, yet it was impossible to retort. Swine. A black heart with the learning of a bumpkin. Just a vulgar clown that would amuse the lowest of commoners. Shameless to the peak. Too inferior to even be shown in public. Countless taunts rang out. Long Chen looked at those people and smiled coldly. Go ahead, keep acting. Yutong was somewhat speechless. Long Chen was too wicked. She had never run into someone with such a temperament. He was practically a scoundrel. The good impression she had of him immediately faded a great deal. Then what is the King Tao? She continued asking. Long Chen pointed to those people outside the screens. To directly smash pompous people. Those people's expressions immediately changed to become fury. Long Chen was provoking them. What is the Hegemon Tao? To smash those who aren't pompous together with them. What is the Humane Tao? To give a warning before you smash them. Long Chen answered without even thinking about it. Emonian and the others were dumbfounded. How could he reply like this? Long Chen's head really was capable of the strangest thoughts. Over half the people on this floor immediately stood up, glowering at Long Chen. Long Chen, you are courting death. Emonian was correct. This humane Tao is just nonsense to trick children. Junior sister Yu Tong, just look at their sinister expressions. They've finally exposed the darkness in their hearts. That refined and cultured appearance before was just an act. I was right? That's why I said high class isn't faked. Just look at their eyes. They clearly want to hack me to death. Just from that, it's obvious they have no humane heart. So they're all inhumane people, said Long Chen frankly. Yu Tong was speechless. Seeing those people furiously glowering over, it was obvious they were on the verge of going berserk. That last insult of his had been truly intolerable, especially for a man. Fine, no matter what, Mr. Long Chen's answers truly were different from others. I admit defeat. Let me present this song, Gazing at the Mountain in the Clouds. I hope everyone will enjoy. Yu Tong took out an ivory flute. This flute was like jade and covered with beautiful lines. Deep within the flute, lines roved around as if it had its own life. Damn, even her flute is a Xiantian weapon? Just what is the background of this immortal intoxication pavilion? Long Chen's heart shook. Everyone else was also shocked. Although they were mostly meridian opening experts, they all possessed an extraordinary status. They could easily tell this flute was not ordinary. Those people who had stood up immediately sat down. Being able to hear the immortal intoxication pavilion's ladies play a song was too rare. It only happened once every few years. Yu Tong gently raised her flute. In that instant, she seemed to become a completely different person. She was enveloped by a Tao charm. Despite clearly being there, it was as if she had become illusory. When she blew into the flute, a sweet sound rang out and everyone saw a scene appear before them. A young maiden looking up towards a majestic mountain. Immortal qi curled around that mountain as it soared into the clouds. As she played, the scene also revolved, making people feel like they had flown into the scene and were looking up at this mountain. In front of this towering mountain, they felt themselves to be a minuscule speck of dust. As the music played, they felt as if they were slowly flying closer to the mountain. But although they were clearly approaching the mountain, they felt as if the mountain was still as far away as ever, so far away that they would never be able to reach it. That was an incredibly mysterious feeling that shook their hearts. Suddenly, the final note played and the scene before them disappeared. However, everyone's expressions were still filled with shock. That towering mountain had not been a true mountain, but a kind of heavenly Tao. Yu Tong had drawn everyone into an extremely special state that allowed them to comprehend that heavenly Tao. Everyone listening seemed intoxicated. Only Long Chen had no reaction. He had no idea why these people seemed so infatuated. Although he had also seen that scene with the mountain, he hadn't felt any reverence for that towering mountain. On the other hand, he had an urge to cut down that mountain with a single slash of his saber. That was an automatic reaction from deep within him. Fairy's divine abilities have benefited us greatly. We are endlessly grateful. Quite a few people stood up and bowed to express their thanks to Yu Tong. Fuck off, wasn't it all my work? Without me, would you have even heard a fart? But you don't thank me, instead wanting to fight me? You inhumane idiots. Long Chen curled his lips, but in the end he didn't say anything. Yu Tong looked at Long Chen. Mr. Long Chen's answers truly were different from everyone else's. However, it seems you have taken advantage of me. Your answers didn't truly have any substance behind them, correct? Perhaps you owe me an apology. Substance? That is your opinion. However, I do not feel like I was speaking nonsense just now. That is my Long Chen's Tao. Miss Fairy, you use music to peer into the heavens, cultivating using sound. This is incredibly profound. But do you think that other than your music Tao, other Taos are unable to reach the pinnacle, immortal godhood? Asked Long Chen. His words lacked politeness, causing everyone's expressions to change. Mo Nian was stunned. Had Long Chen gotten angry? Chapter 570. Fairy Yutong, with all the things that exist in this world, there are innumerable Daos. What is the correct Dao? What are the wrong Daos? What Dao cannot be followed to the peak? Asked Long Chen. The three women were startled. This question of his was even sharper, and they were unable to reply. You don't have an answer, but neither does any one of the people here. Even gods and devils are unable to answer this question. Within the legends of the immortal era, gods and devils fought an immense war, and immortals and ghosts fought for dominance. The bones of gods piled into mountains and the blood of immortals flowed like rivers. Why is that? The immortal Dao, the devil Dao, the ghost Dao, the god Dao. Which one of them doesn't consider itself to be the true correct Dao? If their Daos were all correct Daos, then what are these other Daos we have now? Just which Dao is supreme? Where is the supreme expert with their supreme Dao? Why is it that the culture of the immortal era has disappeared now, severing our inheritance? I'll trouble Fairy Yutong to tell me, what is the Dao? What is the King Dao? What is the Hegemon Dao? What is the Humane Dao? Asked Long Chen. Long Chen couldn't help feeling anger inside. His original intention wasn't to release his anger on her. But when Yutong called his Dao into question, it was a kind of humiliation. That wasn't something he really cared about, but the pride within his soul had become berserk. After merging with the pill god memories, as Long Chen's cultivation base had grown, the will within him influenced him less and less. But today, Yutong's words had made that will furious. Yutong's face was red, and she almost felt dizzy. There was no way for her to retort to Long Chen's words because his words were entirely correct. If there really was only one correct Dao within the innumerable Daos, how could there be gods and devils, immortals and ghosts? As Long Chen said these words, his image was also reflected on the wall of a private room. The pavilion master looked at Long Chen and sighed. It's no wonder he formed a resonance with the ninth divine emissary. Even his viewpoint of the Tao is almost identical to hers. Back then, the ninth divine emissary said that the heavenly Daos were tyrannical and that she would walk her own Tao. Her words were viewed as blasphemy against the heavens, and she was attacked by countless experts. However, her Tao heart was as stable as a boulder, and she was determined to walk her own Tao. She faced the cultivation world head-on, slaughtering out her own path. However, that path was too bloody. The veiled woman said, Yutong's Tao heart isn't stable enough. Long Chen's words caused a flaw to appear on her Tao heart. However, that's not necessarily a bad thing. We go out for tempering to experience this world's countless Daos and increase our comprehension. Daos are not differentiated by strong and weak, high or low. It seems Yutong needs more tempering. The pavilion master looked at her with praise. Ah, Ziyen, your level of comprehension is truly admirable. Within the elusive music immortal palace, when it comes to comprehension, there probably isn't anyone else who can compare to you in the junior generation. Perhaps there will come a day when you can lead us back to our splendor in the immortal era. Pavilion Master is too courteous. There are countless geniuses within our elusive music immortal palace. I don't want to compete with them. I just want to have the freedom to pursue the music Tao. As for what realm I can reach, that will be up to fate, sighed Ziyen. Oh, another person came? Ziyen suddenly saw another person appear in the scene. Just as Yutong was at a loss on how to reply, an icy voice rang out. Even someone who is not a celestial dares spout lies about the heavenly Daos? Truly an ignorant insect. The atmosphere was tense with hostility. Haha, I didn't expect that you had such glorious battle achievements. Why didn't you tell me? Emon Yen stood up and patted Long Chen on the shoulder. Is there anything glorious about it? It was just a scuffle. And in the end, I was the one who fled miserably, said Long Chen. Yutong looked at Long Chen. She realized Long Chen was an open and straightforward person. He said whatever he wanted to say. He didn't even bother concealing his own disgrace. That made her feel a trace of admiration for him. She had truly gotten a bit angry when Long Chen had responded to her and put her at a loss for words. But now she realized that his words were reasonable, which was why she had no retort. For her to get angry because she had lost some face meant there was a problem with her Tao heart. It seemed she still needed more tempering. If you hadn't fled quickly last time, you'd already be dead. Yin Qing finally opened her mouth. Long Chen was too lazy to speak to her. He only spoke to Yin Wushang because he had the qualifications to face him. But Yin Qing was no longer on the same level as him. Long Chen didn't say anything, but Emon Yen did. Hey, when you come here, you have to spend your own money to eat. Don't think that if you stand next to us, we'll give you our scraps. If you have nothing else, leave and stop holding us back from our meal. Someone from a second-rate family does not have the qualifications to speak to me, what? Yin Wushang was suddenly filled with disbelief. What, did you think no one else could become a celestial? Sneered Emon Yen. Ah, how unexpected. Even a declined family was able to use their inheritance to give birth to a celestial. However, relying on an inheritance instead of naturally awakening still makes you trash. Even if you've become a celestial, you'll be the lowest-ranking celestial. Is that worth being prideful of? Yin Wushang suddenly laughed. Emon Yen was furious, but he was held back by Long Chen. When a dog barks at you, will you bother talking reason with the dog? Have you already forgotten what you said about the King Dao and Hegemon Dao? For such people, use your fists, not your mouth. Come, let's keep drinking. Yin Wushang and Yin Qing's expressions became exceedingly ugly, but this place was the Immortal Intoxication Pavilion, and they didn't dare attack here. Furthermore, they had their own reasons for coming to Qing Prefecture this time. They could only temporarily endure. Everyone is a guest of the Immortal Intoxication Pavilion. Why must you get angry here? How about I play everyone a song to enjoy instead? Chapter 571, 571. This voice rang out in everyone's ears, sounding both like a bird and the tinkling of bells. Just hearing that voice could make a person feel like they were floating in the clouds. Everyone hastily turned to see that at some unknown point, a large stage had appeared at the front of the hall. There was a zither rest on the stage, and on it was a simple and unadorned zither. A woman in a white veil and white robes was sitting beside the zither. She appeared like a lotus blooming out of the water, untouched by the dust of the mortal world. That voice had come from her. You're all very fortunate. Elder Sister Ziyen is our Immortal Intoxication Building's top expert in the music Dao. Even we don't normally get a chance to listen to her play, said Yutong. When Ziyen appeared, Yin Wushang's pupils shrunk. He sensed a strange aura from her body. He and Yin Qing found a place to sit, temporarily putting aside their grudge with Long Chen. The sun and moon are not whole, heaven and earth are imperfect. What is the point of struggling back and forth? I will be so bold as to play a song for everyone. I hope everyone can properly reflect on it. Ziyen slowly extended her hands, brushing gently upon the zither. Twang. Long Chen felt his own heart jump slightly along with that zither sound. 3 more notes rang out. Long Chen suddenly felt as if he was being drawn into that beautiful music. What a terrifying control. A single note from her zither can probe a person's pulse, and from that, she adjusts the rhythm to draw you in. This woman is much more profound than Yutong. As Ziyen played her zither, even Long Chen, who didn't know the slightest thing about music, felt incomparably comfortable. This was a kind of musical meditation that delighted the heart. As the music played, Long Chen saw a scene before him, mountains spreading into the distance, crystal clear water flowing to and fro, birds singing in trees. That beautiful scene was something a person couldn't have the heart to destroy. In this scene, Long Chen felt a rare pleasure and peace within him. At that moment, he forgot all his vexation, all his fury. He immersed himself in this world. Peace, warmth, not the slightest struggle. Everything was tranquil and harmonious, comforting and natural. It was a wonderland without the struggles of the mundane world. Long Chen immersed himself within a green field, enjoying the feeling. Suddenly, the birds flew away in a panic. Countless fierce magical beasts appeared and charged in Long Chen's direction. Looking at those magical beasts, Long Chen didn't feel the slightest panic. He allowed them to run past his side. He knew this was all an illusion, just an artistic realm this white-robed woman was showing him. Once those magical beasts rushed past his side, the scene changed again. Those magical beasts appeared in a human city, crazily attacking people. The city's army was defending as best as they could, but these magical beasts were too fierce. Blood and flesh flew through the air. Countless miserable screams and wails came from the city. Long Chen stood on the city wall, watching this bloody scene. For some unknown reason, this scene gradually began to transform into Phoenix Cry's capital. Long Chen even saw Shi Feng, Fatty Yu, and Shou Ho's figures. They were brandishing their weapons. Even in the face of these magical beasts they had no chance of defeating, they still fought. Even knowing this is all fake, I still can't bring myself to just watch you all die in front of me. Long Chen took out a saber. With a single slash, those magical beasts were all killed and disappeared. Chener, you've returned. Thank goodness. Otherwise, the capital wouldn't have been able to hold on. Long Tianxiao looked at Long Chen with gratification. Seeing these figures before him, Long Chen felt a burst of warmth within him. After being parted for so long, he didn't know how his father and mother were now. Chen, where are you? Are you still alive? Mom and Dad miss you. Suddenly, a voice rang out in Long Chen's mind. That's enough. Stop before you go too far. Long Chen coldly shouted and smashed a fist forward. The space around him broke, and the entire scene disappeared. Twang! A strange sound rang out, and the zither music came to a sudden halt. Only now did everyone wake up. Some people were completely shocked, not knowing what had happened. They felt as if they had been dreaming. But in that dream, they had seen many things that were related to them. They hastily looked over to Ziyan. They saw her motionless, her hand holding a zither string that had snapped. My skills are still not refined enough. I've caused everyone to laugh, she apologized. Many thanks for this great favor. It felt like I had lived through my life again, and I've benefited greatly. I am truly endlessly grateful. Quite a few people stood up to thank her. Long Chen didn't know what they had seen, but it seemed they had comprehended many things. Everyone is too courteous. Right now, I feel a bit unwell, so I'll take my leave first. After saying that, she turned and disappeared behind the zither stage. When that woman returned to the private room, before the pavilion master could say a word, she coughed up a mouthful of blood. Ziyan, cried the pavilion master. Ziyan's veil fell from her face, revealing her incredibly beautiful complexion. She had picturesque eyebrows, a jasper nose, cherry lips, and a face that was like fine jade. However, her face was now slightly pale. Pavilion master, I'm fine. I just suffered a slight backlash, explained Ziyan. A backlash? Yes. When I played the heart reincarnation song, everyone entered that reincarnation realm. Only Long Chen stayed at the edge the entire time, unwilling to enter. I focused my spiritual music energy on him, but I didn't expect his heart to be so firm. When I tried to draw him into the reincarnation, it seemed to have touched upon something that deeply aggrieved him. He actually forcibly escaped from my realm, and being caught off guard, my mind received a heavy shock. The backlash also snapped one of my strings. Ziyan was still shocked. Did you see his secrets? Asked the pavilion master. No. I didn't deliberately try to pry. I just wanted to draw him into the reincarnation, letting him relive his life. But he had only just begun to enter that realm when he forcibly escaped. It seems his heart is hiding many things that he doesn't want others to know about, said Ziyan. Although she hadn't deliberately pried, she could still sense that at that time, she had touched something that pained Long Chen greatly. When playing that song, she had connected her mind to Long Chen's. The change in Long Chen's emotions was something she had clearly experienced. This Long Chen is a dangerous person. Ziyan, you should stay away from him as much as possible to avoid having your Tao heart influenced, sighed the pavilion master. Pavilion master, do you still remember what my master said when she told my fortune? She said I would run into a devil star in my lifetime, and that would change my entire fate. One thought might turn me into a god, and another thought might turn me into a devil. It is all predestined. Ziyan looked at the image on the wall. Then you mean? I'm not sure. But when I touched Long Chen's inner heart just now, my mental realm also became chaotic, and I was unable to maintain a peaceful heart. I bitterly focus my cultivation on my mental realm, and even my master said that my mental realm is something rarely seen. However, with just one brief interaction with Long Chen, my mental realm was broken. It really is hard to believe, said Ziyan. Could you have made a mistake? How could Long Chen be your devil star? Don't deceive yourself, said the pavilion master. Master's cultivation base has reached heaven merging. Her music Tao can peer into the heavenly Taos, and with her all-encompassing perception, she rarely makes a mistake. However, whether or not my devil star is Long Chen is unknown for now. I need to wait and see, said Ziyan. How about I go kill Long Chen? Then it won't influence you. The pavilion master clenched her teeth. You can't. You know that if Long Chen really is my devil star, killing him will invoke karma. You'll be consigned to eternal damnation. Ziyan shook her head. Ziyan, you are a peerless genius. I couldn't bear to see him ruin you. This little sacrifice is worth it, said the pavilion master determinedly. Thank you for the thought, but this matter has to be handled by me. When Master said one thought could turn me into a god, and one thought could turn me into a devil, she meant that the choice was in my own hands. If I kill my devil star, I will become a god. If I can't kill my devil star, I will end up sinking with my devil star onto the devil path. In any case, the initiative is in my hands. Right now, it's still unknown whether Long Chen is my devil star. I can't act rashly. After I can confirm it, I will personally kill him and continue cultivating my music Tao. Then my future will be an unobstructed path. The pavilion master looked from Ziyan to Long Chen's image reflected on the wall. A trace of unease appeared in her eyes, but she could only watch. This was Ziyan's own fate. Once Ziyan left, Long Chen felt a strange emotion arise in his heart. It was very odd, and he was unable to tell what that emotion was. It's getting late. Many thanks Miss Yutong for your warm hospitality. We'll say our goodbyes now. Long Chen felt that it was about time, and he had already stood up to leave. That stunned Yutong and the others. It seemed this was the first time anyone took the initiative to say goodbye to them. For others, saying even an extra sentence to them was precious. It was only Long Chen who didn't feel reluctant to leave this place. However, Yutong didn't display that. She magnanimously said, "You're welcome to visit again." Hee, I don't really know how to talk that well. Today, my words were a bit contrary. I hope Miss Yutong will forgive me. I'm sure we'll meet again someday. Long Chen cupped his fist to Yutong. After all, releasing his fury on her had been a bit too much. After saying goodbye, Long Chen began walking towards the exit. When he walked past Yin Wushang's table, Yin Wushang suddenly said, "Long Chen, properly enjoy your final moments." Long Chen didn't even glance at him, nor did he slow down. He lightly threw out, "If you want to die, you can come find me at any time. I will quickly, conveniently, and painlessly send you to another world." Yin Wushang immediately felt like he had been slapped in the face. Killing intent erupted from him, but he still endured. "It's Yin Wushang, right?" Mo Nian suddenly paused by Yin Wushang's side. "What is it?" Nothing. I just want to say, if you want to die, you can go find him at any time. He will quickly, conveniently, and painlessly send you to another world. I was just afraid you didn't hear, so I helped repeat it for you. There's no need to thank me. Mo Nian followed Long Chen away. Mu Shui and the others hastily kept up, leaving behind a black-faced Yin Wushang. Long Chen, I feel like you really have talent when it comes to pissing people off. Once they were out of the immortal intoxication building, Emon Yen patted Long Chen's shoulders and gave him a thumbs up. Long Chen was about to say that he was overpraising him when a familiar figure suddenly appeared in the distance. A powerful force abruptly pushed him, and Long Chen involuntarily flew towards that person. Chapter 572. Emon Yen, it seems you no longer want to keep living. That figure was Emon Yen's fiancée, Lu Zongyi. At this moment, Emon Yen had used his masterstroke, pushing Long Chen forward and then fling. Hey, sister-in-law, don't hit me. I'm not Emon Yen. Long Chen hastily cried out. At the same time, he gave Emon Yen a vicious cursing inside. Just now, hadn't he called him a brother? In the blink of an eye, he had sold him out. In midair, Long Chen didn't have any great abilities he could use. Furthermore, that bastard Emon Yen had truly been evil. Long Chen's posture seemed like he was trying to block Lu Zongyi. The two of you can both rot in hell. Lu Zongying's palm slammed into Long Chen's chest, causing his blood and qi to flip inside him. But after pushing him aside, she saw Emon Yen had already disappeared past the end of the street. Lu Zongying let out a furious snort and shot after him. Sister-in-law, there's no need to be this angry. Emon Yen only ordered 2 women, and all they did was hold hands. Long Chen kindly exonerated Emon Yen. Emon Yen, today, if I don't skin you completely, I won't be Lu Zongying. Her furious cry rang out from the distance. Good brother Emon Yen, I can only help you this much. Long Chen simply looked in that direction. Mu Shui and the others looked from the distance to Long Chen, their expressions odd. They didn't know what they should say. Leader Mu Shui, you guys should get going. I'll return to Mo Gate. You can come to find me if you need anything. After saying goodbye, Long Chen walked on his own towards Mo Gate. Right now, he didn't know where Emon Yen had gone off to enjoy his love. However, Long Chen didn't have very high hopes for him. Emon Yen had said that his grandfather had told him that his future growth would be unlimited. The manifestation Emon Yen summoned had those 2 illusory figures within him. That was not something an ordinary manifestation should have. But while Emon Yen was filled with confidence towards his future, that was just his future. Currently, he still hadn't gotten used to his new power, and he was not a match for Lu Zongying yet. Thinking of Lu Zongying's swift and decisive temperament, if she caught him, then the massage she would give him would definitely be very relaxing. Long Chen suddenly sensed something odd. A cold smile appeared on his face, and he continued on his original path. Currently, it was late at night. He was now in a desolate area. According to Emon Yen, this place was a slum. Over 10 years ago, a minor epidemic had erupted here, and many people had died. That was why no one had lived here in the past few years. If they hadn't been rushing, Emon Yen wouldn't have brought Long Chen through this desolate area. Long Chen was unfamiliar with this city, and so he could only go back according to their original path. Suddenly, a cold light shot straight towards Long Chen. Long Chen tilted to the side, and that cold light shot right past him. But he hadn't expected the cold light to suddenly explode. A burst of light blinded him. Attack! Over 10 black-robed figures rushed out from every direction. All their weapons attacked Long Chen at the same time. They were incredibly fast and crafty, taking advantage of when Long Chen was blinded to try to kill him immediately. What? Those people's weapons collided together. All their weapons ended up hitting nothing but air. They had actually pierced an afterimage, and they immediately had a bad feeling. A ray of scarlet saber chi slashed towards 3 of them. They didn't even have time to react before they were cut in 2. Only now did everyone else react, viciously attacking Long Chen. Long Chen blocked their attacks with another slash of his saber and fell back, icily looking at these people. You should be Yin Wushang's chess pieces, correct? He sent you to test me? These people were all masked. They were also all Xiantian experts. Furthermore, They didn't seem like ordinary Xiantian experts. Long Chen sensed a familiar aura from them. "Kill him!" the person in charge shouted, and all of them once more charged at him. This time, they completely released the power of their cultivation bases, and a terrifying pressure shook the void. Long Chen's saber slashed out again. The void seemed to cry from his power. Their weapons were all forced back by a single swing of his saber. This senseless probing can end here. Suddenly, a ball of flames appeared in Long Chen's left hand. It was only the size of a fist, but as soon as it appeared, a terrifying heat caused all the space within a mile to twist and warp. "Not good. Run." "Sorry, it's too late." Boom! The flame sphere exploded amongst them, instantly enveloping everything within several miles. This was the flame energy from Long Chen's earth flame. Under Long Chen's continuous nourishing, the earth flame had continuously grown stronger. This attack now was practically apocalyptical. Those people didn't even have a chance to scream before being burned to ashes. Several miles outside the battlefield, a man was holding a photographic jade and recording everything. Seeing those terrifying flames, cold sweat covered him. He blessed his luck that he had been ordered here, or he would also have died. When the flames finally scattered, an area of 3,000 meters had been completely burnt to nothing. Even the ground had disappeared, leaving a huge crater. "Something's wrong." That person suddenly let out a startled cry, as he realized that not only had those people disappeared, but even Long Chen was nowhere to be seen. "What's wrong? I don't see anything?" Long Chen appeared behind him, looking at the battlefield. Long Chen." That person immediately turned pale as paper, and he suddenly took out a dagger that emitted a blue light as he stabbed it towards Long Chen's chest. That blue light was actually a kind of anti-airus poison. Choosing to use this weapon at this close distance was definitely his best option. The fact that he could instantly make the most correct judgment at this time meant this person was a true expert. But as his dagger was about to reach Long Chen's heart, it stopped. A large hand was clenching his throat, and a domineering spiritual qi had sealed his body, making it so he didn't even have the ability to move a finger. "I really can't understand why Yin Wushang would send you people to your deaths like this. Even if he wanted to test me out, he should have sent stronger people. Or is it that he is looking down on me, thinking I'm the same person he managed to chase down? Did he really think a few random people could probe my strength?" Long Chen icily looked at him. He really was unable to understand why someone would do something so foolish as to vainly send their own people to their deaths. Or was it that these people were disobedient and he didn't like them? Did he want to use Long Chen to get rid of them? "Long Chen, spare me. I had no choice. I was ordered. I have a family, children." Long Chen slightly increased his strength and directly snapped his neck. At the same time, he forcibly dispersed his soul. His corpse fell from his hand. His eyes were popping out and open in death. "Have you seen enough?" asked Long Chen, clasping his hands behind his back. After he said that, a figure slowly walked out from the darkness. She was slender and lithe, a white veil covering her face. "Why did you have to do this? He already begged for mercy, and his courage was already broken by you. He wouldn't be your enemy ever again. Why couldn't you give him a path to live?" This woman was Ziyan. "Is that your humane Tao?" Long Chen didn't reply, instead asking her a question. Every person has a humane heart. However, it is deliberately hidden by themselves. Why don't you try releasing your humane heart? Only then can you release other people's humane hearts, creating a cycle of virtue. If that happened, this world would no longer be the way it is, said Ziyan somewhat regretfully. Haha. Long Chen suddenly raised his head and laughed, his laughter extremely crazy. Junior sister Ziyan, have you heard of a certain story? There was once a crown prince who stood at the top of the city walls. He looked down on those countless starving refugees whose crops had failed. They were crazily digging out grass and pulling off tree bark to allay their own hunger. At the same time, many of them died from starvation. That crown prince asked the chancellor beside him, "Why don't those people eat some meat if they're so hungry?" Ziyan shook her head. "I'm not judging your actions while trying to stand high above you morally. I just dash." Long Chen sneered, "You aren't judging, but you are tactfully criticizing. As expected, you really are a high-class person. These methods really are different from what a low-class person like myself can think of. The heights we stand on are different. Your parents, your family, they're safe. But I'm different. If I am weak, if I am compassionate, I will bring pain to those close to me." "You say he's innocent? Then when he tried to kill me, did he once think about my father, my mother, my family? According to you, his courage was broken by me, so he temporarily wouldn't be enemies with me anymore. But can you guarantee that if his master ordered him to kill my family, he definitely wouldn't go? Why don't you say something? Is it because you can't guarantee that? Let alone you, even a god is unable to change a person's nature. Since there's no guarantee, why can't I kill him? He had a murderous heart towards me, so why must I take the risk to have a humane heart for him? Why would I bring pain to the people by my side? Why would I bring pain to myself? Isn't that just too stupid?" sneered Long Chen. "Long Chen, you're too extreme," said Ziyan. "Whether or not I'm extreme is my own affair. Miss Ziyan, I won't bother you about how you tried to peer into my secrets previously. This matter ends here. You and I are people in different worlds. I don't care if you have good intentions towards me. I'd ask you not to meddle in my matters, or we'll become enemies." Long Chen left this final sentence before turning and leaving. The only one left was Ziyan, standing in the darkness of the night. Chapter 573, 573. Long Chen's expression was dark, and he felt an indescribable fury. He found it wasn't just the heavens that were targeting him, but even people were too. Whether it was Yu Tong or Ziyan, although they hadn't intentionally targeted him, their attitude toward him had been extremely irritating. They were people isolated above the struggles of the mundane world. Of course, it was easy for them to preach peace. But wasn't that just stupidity for him? Back in the capital, how much had the Long family sacrificed for the nation? Long Tianxiao had fought on the bloody battlefield to protect the border for so many years. How much had he given to Phoenix Cry? What had he obtained in return? Even if it was those in power that had been targeting the Long family, what about the commoners? What about the others in the city? When Long Chen had been bullied, they had just watched from the side. In fact, they had even added in their own insults. Were they unaware that if Long Tianxiao hadn't been standing in front of them, fighting a bloody battle to protect them, they wouldn't even have the right to live peaceful lives? No, they were aware. However, people enjoyed the benefits, but they didn't know how to be grateful. Long Chen had long since seen through the essence of human nature. Now that someone wanted to use their textbook moral standards to comment on his actions, he had a stomach full of fire. Long Chen had an urge to immediately find Yin Wushang and have a battle with him, as he felt incredibly stifled inside. Although he didn't know what origins the immortal intoxication pavilion's ladies had, he knew they were cultivators who came from a mysterious background. That natural and peaceful Tao charm that came from their bodies made each one of them a fairy untouched by the turmoil of the mundane world. But although these fairies had descended upon the world, what did they have to do with Long Chen? Had they come to try and enlighten him? To reform him? Was that a joke? Had he somehow become a heinous villain? Just how many idiots were there in this world who also targeted him? Within the immortal intoxication pavilion, those people had all been a bunch of posers. In truth, it was unknown just how filthy-minded they were. But instead of trying to reform them, they came to target Long Chen. If it was someone else targeting him, Long Chen wouldn't be this furious. But for Ziyan, someone who stood aloof from worldly affairs, to actually try and enlighten him, Long Chen was especially irritated. Bored people should mind their own business. Long Chen suppressed his fury and quickened his footsteps. He swore to never return to that place. Seeing Long Chen's figure disappear, Yen sighed and returned to the Immortal Intoxication Pavilion. As soon as she returned, the pavilion master asked, "Did you talk to him?" "I suppose." Yen gently pulled off her veil, revealing her beautiful face. However, her expression was slightly disappointed. "What happened?" "We just said a few words and then Longchen left." Furthermore, his expression was frighteningly gloomy. He forcibly held himself back from cursing me. Yen bitterly smiled. Longchen might look like a decent person, but how can he be so coarse? The pavilion master shook her head. "It's not that he's coarse, but that he's extremely angry. It seems he is extremely disgusted with me," sighed Yen. That's because he hasn't seen the real you. Otherwise, he definitely wouldn't be like this." The pavilion master laughed extremely confidently. "This Longchen is extremely strange. He seems like a well whose surface is extremely ordinary. However, no one is able to see through that surface to see how much depth he has. It's a mystery just how many things he's concealing." Once you seduce her, not only will you have a beauty, but whatever sect she's from will also be on your side. What a great deal. Yen's eyes brightened. "When did I ever say I have unrivaled pickup techniques? Who did you hear that from?" Longchen was somewhat speechless. "Do you even need to ask? Just look at all those beauties by your side. They're all so devoted to you, and you know how jealous women are. But you were actually able to get them to get along with each other. If this isn't because of your amazing pickup skills, what's it from?" "Wait, no, this can't be called skill. This is practically a heaven-defying divine ability. Why couldn't I have this talent? I can't even get a single peaceful woman. Fuck, how depressing." Yen felt incredibly aggrieved. "How did your fight with her go?" asked Longchen. He was very curious about how Yen had been beaten so miserably. "How could it have gone? She chased me for half an incense stick's time and then attacked. As a result, I lost by one move. However, this time, I lasted a whole hour against her without being beaten, hee," said Yen. "Not bad. Even though you haven't adapted to your celestial power, you were still able to hold on this long. Once you get accustomed to it, you'll be able to completely suppress her," praised Longchen. Previously, Yen had told him that when he faced Lu Zongying, he was usually beaten in just a few seconds. The fact that he could hold on this long was very impressive. "Well, not exactly. The main point was that she was busy tying me to a tree before beating me," sighed Yen. "The door is over there." "Teach, why can't you let me make myself sound a bit better? Look at how miserable I look. But let me tell you, my strength really has greatly increased. I intentionally let her win this time. Although I still wouldn't have been able to defeat her, I would definitely have had some ability to resist this time. However, I didn't let her sense that. I'll wait until I'm used to my new strength to make a beautiful reversal, declaring that the king has returned. I, Yen, will forcibly soar to overlook the 9 heavens." Yen stood up, looking like a very majestic rooster, filled with confidence towards his future. Of course, if it weren't for his swollen face, the effect would be a bit better. "All right, you've said what you wanted to say. Stop standing on the table. Being higher won't actually let you soar anywhere," said Longchen helplessly. Yen jumped off the table and said, "Brother, this time, it really is all thanks to you. My grandpa personally examined my new Dao seeds. He said that normally, people can only merge with a single Dao seed. However, I was able to break this rule and merge with 2. Furthermore, these 2 Dao seeds show no signs of rejection. Instead, they seem to want to merge, forming a mutation. According to my grandpa's guess, my manifestation may be an extremely rare advancing celestial manifestation. He said that in the future, I might not always be a rank 1 celestial. I'll be able to advance ranks." Yen's voice quivered slightly. His grandfather had actually told him to keep that as a secret. It was too important, but not saying it had been too stifling. He ended up telling it all to Long Chen. Long Chen was startled by this news. Shui Wuhin had told him that celestials were split into 9 ranks, but she hadn't said anything about them being able to advance. If Emo Nian's grandfather was right, then wouldn't Emo Nian be able to advance all the way to the 9th rank? In other words, a true celestial. Ah, Long Chen, your brother really is about to rise. Don't worry, in the future, your brother will look after you. Emo Nian laughed. Long Chen looked at Emo Nian's wretched expression and couldn't help but shake his head, feeling this promise wasn't so reliable. It was best to still depend on himself. The night passed silently. The next morning, Long Chen was surprised to hear that Zheng Wenlong had arrived. Chapter 574. Zheng Wenlong, your efficiency really makes me prostrate myself before you in admiration. Long Chen cheerfully looked at the medicinal ingredients in the spatial ring. Not only had all the ingredients for the Life Fate pill been gathered, but there were also dozens of practically extinct medicinal ingredients that Zheng Wenlong had managed to find. Long Chen directly sent all these medicinal ingredients into the primal chaos space. Those withered plants immediately began to revive and germinate. Ah, Long Chen, you have to take care of yourself for your brother. I invested a huge sum of money into you. Right now, I owe my sect a huge debt. If you end up in an unexpected accident, then I won't even be able to repay that debt in my lifetime. So Long Chen, you have to live at least 100 years. No, it would be best if you could live forever. Zheng Wenlong looked at Long Chen with a complicated expression. Whether it was the ocean's worth of bone-tempering pills he had provided Long Chen or these incredibly precious medicinal ingredients, Zheng Wenlong had used his own authority to give them to Long Chen. Up to the current point, the amount of capital he had invested in Long Chen far surpassed the profit Long Chen had given the Huayan sect. Therefore, Zheng Wenlong owed an immense debt. Hee, brother Wenlong, don't worry. Good people don't have long lives, but scoundrels live for a millennia. Someone like me is fated to live over 1,000 years. Long Chen laughed. Then that's good. Otherwise, this business of mine really will end up sinking. Last month, we began selling the bone-tempering pills, and our total sales. Zheng Wenlong took out a piece of paper for Long Chen. Don't give this to me. Just looking at it gives me a headache. In any case, I know that even if you take out my portion of these sales, I still owe you a huge sum. Trust me, in the upcoming period, I will slowly repay this debt. I definitely won't let you end with a loss. Long Chen smiled. All right, then I will continue using my full authority to provide you with the resources you need. Let me say it again, I swear on the business god's name that I won't cheat you even a single copper, swore Zheng Wenlong. This time, I called you because I want to resolve the Mo family's current crisis. I'm sure you're aware the Pill Tower is using the Mo family to show their power after being viciously slapped in the face by your Huayan sect. These idiots want to kill the chicken to warn the monkey. I hope the Huayan sect can cooperate with the Mo family. After all, the Mo family has a great number of businesses and plenty of resources. It's a mutually beneficial arrangement. Furthermore, without a further supply of medicinal pills, the Mo family might be fine temporarily, but no matter how large the mountain, they can't survive forever like this, said Long Chen. That's no problem. Of course, my Huayun sect's medicinal pills are made to be sold. It's the same no matter who we sell them to. As for Mo Gate, they truly are rich. We can cooperate. However, you also know that I'm very busy with the bone-tempering pills. I don't have that much time, so I'll arrange for Bai Ling to be in charge of our business with Mo Gate. You know that Bai Ling is very meticulous. She's much more suitable for handling this than me, said Zheng Wenlong. Ha, you don't have time, so you send your wife to help? Laughed Long Chen. Cough, Brother Long is joking. It's still too early. Zheng Wenlong actually reddened when mentioning Bai Ling. It seemed even businessmen weren't so proficient when it came to matters of the heart. I don't mind who's in charge. In any case, I'm very confident with how the Huayun sect handles things. Other than this, I have a new money-making project I want to discuss with you, said Long Chen wickedly. What project? Zheng Wenlong's eyes lit up. Hee, I'm sure Brother Wenlong recognizes what this is. Long Chen took out a fist-sized fruit. Meridian Opening Spirit Cliff Fruit? With his vision, Zheng Wenlong naturally recognized it at a single glance. But in truth, one Meridian Opening Spirit Cliff Fruit was not enough to make him this shocked. However, this particular fruit was glistening and plump. It had clearly just been picked from the tree. Spatial rings might be known for having static spaces, and things theoretically would stay fresh. But such high-grade spiritual fruits would still end up losing their essence in spatial rings, their light fading and their bodies becoming withered. However, this one was still completely new. In other words, Long Chen had to possess a meridian opening spirit cliff tree. Long Chen truly did have that tree, and not just one, but a forest of hundreds of them. This was all thanks to Yin Wushang's generosity. That one fruit had reproduced limitlessly. Damn, you actually possess a meridian opening spirit cliff tree. If you sold it, it would go for an immense price, sighed Zheng Wenlong emotionally. He was really unable to understand Long Chen anymore. These fruits were things that only the ancient Yin family possessed. Each year, they would only sell a limited quantity, but that was enough to bring them an immense profit. How high of a price? Asked Long Chen. If such a treasure was auctioned, the price would at least be 3,000 middle-grade spirit stones. You might not be aware, but a single middle-grade spirit stone is equivalent to 1 million ordinary spirit stones. Furthermore, that's just the minimum price. If we were to advertise it and then hold an auction, it would draw over countless huge powers. I can't estimate an upper limit, but I can see it going for over 10 times that price, guessed Zheng Wenlong. Really, it's that valuable? Asked Long Chen, surprised. Of course. Meridian opening spirit cliff fruits are the best ingredients for meridian opening pills, and by a lot. There are quite a few peak powers that aren't lacking any money. All they want is the best. So the Yin family only sells a portion of their stock. They keep the rest for themselves, or they sell them in private. If others want to obtain them, it depends on their relations, explained Zheng Wenlong. Only rare commodities had value. Then Brother Wenlong, if all the Yin family's meridian opening spirit cliff fruits died suddenly, and then we auctioned a meridian opening spirit cliff tree, how high would the price go? Asked Long Chen. That's impossible. The Yin family relies on their meridian opening spirit cliff trees to support their entire family. They care more about them than their own wives, and experts guard them every day. They definitely won't die, said Zheng Wenlong. The reason their trees haven't died yet is because they haven't run into me. If they had, those trees would have long since died. Brother Wenlong, let's cooperate for this business transaction. If this transaction succeeds, perhaps I'll be able to directly pay back all the money I owe you. Long Chen whispered a few things into Zheng Wenlong's ear. Long Chen's plan almost made Zheng Wenlong's eyes pop out of his head, and it was his first time bursting into profanities. Fuck, how could we do that? I'll bring out the resources, you put in your auction power. As long as we manage to sell that thing, we'll have a 100% success rate, said Long Chen confidently. But if that succeeds, the Yin family will go crazy. They'll come find trouble for our auction houses. Although we're not afraid of them, our reputation will take a hit. We can't do that. Zheng Wenlong shook his head. What are you afraid of? I've already thought of all that for you. Just saying you are acting on behalf of someone else to sell it, and that this product's effect is unclear. Whoever buys it has to take the risk if they want it. First display its effects, then auction it with a low starting price. Once it's auctioned off, sign a contract with the buyer. On the contract, say that this item is mysterious and you've only tested its temporary effects. As for its true long-term effects, it needs to be slowly researched by whoever buys it. Then that's all. Whether or not the buyer will use it is up to them. That way, your auction house won't have to bear the slightest bit of responsibility, said Long Chen. But I still feel like this is inappropriate. Zheng Wenlong was still hesitant. What's inappropriate about it? Let me ask you, if I was your client, Could I have this auction house take my place to auction something off? Asked Long Chen. Yes. Then isn't it fine? Right now, I'm your client, and you'll just be an intermediary who's taking a cut in the profit. I'm the one really selling the product, and you'll create a contract. Then everything will be complete, said Long Chen. Fine, I'll do it. Long Chen, don't end up harming me. Zheng Wenlong bitterly smiled. This was his first time doing such a thing. Don't worry, don't you know what kind of person I am? When would I con my own people? Long Chen patted himself on the chest confidently. All right, then I'll start working on it immediately. Zheng Wenlong nodded. Since he had agreed, he would get to work immediately. After sending off Zheng Wenlong, Long Chen also got to work. He began focusing on the primal chaos space, urging those medicinal ingredients to grow. Once the medicinal ingredients recovered to a certain point, he split them into many pieces and buried them in the ground again. The primal chaos space's soil was just too miraculous. Ordinary herbs would die from being split apart, but in the primal chaos space, they could continue growing. In less than 2 hours, another large medicinal field had appeared in Long Chen's primal chaos space. However, these herbs were still too young. 3 days later, the first wave of ingredients finally matured. Long Chen had Mo Nian lend him a private room, and he began to refine. He didn't know what tier the life fate pill was, but according to the difficulty and the flame requirements, it should count as a 5th-tier medicinal pill. A 5th-tier medicinal pill wasn't too difficult for the current Long Chen. A blue flame appeared over Long Chen's palm. A terrifying heat caused space to twist as if this world was about to be ignited. Little fellow, you have to be a bit more obedient. When we work together to refine pills, you can't cause any trouble. Long Chen looked at the flame in his hand nervously. This time, Long Chen was planning on using the earth flame to refine. Previously, his cultivation base hadn't been high enough to control it meticulously. The slightest slip had burned all the ingredients into ashes. Now that he had advanced to meridian opening, his spiritual strength had also grown stronger. Furthermore, after nourishing the earth flame all this time, it had also grown slightly. According to reason, the stronger an earth flame grew, the more difficult it would be to control. However, his earth flame had its own spirit that could work together with Long Chen to control the heat. The flame seedling swayed slightly. The flame serpent tattoo on Long Chen's arm lit up. Long Chen smiled and he gently sent the flame into his pill furnace. You're tuning in to the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.